In this video, we're going to be exploring 3 hours of forgotten SpongeBob lore to fall asleep to. Let's get started with the darkest secrets hiding beneath Bikini Bottom. First up, we got where Bikini Bottom came from. The most successful animated series in television history began with a marine biology teacher who created comic books to help kids learn about tide pools. Steven Hillenburg's journey from educator to animation legend started in 1984 when he landed a job at the Orange County Marine Institute in Dana Point, California. Armed with a degree in natural resource planning and interpretation from Humboldt State University, Hillenburg was ready to share his passion for ocean life with young visitors. At the Institute, Hillenburg taught marine biology for 3 years, covering everything from tide pool ecology to nautical history. He watched children become fascinated with underwater creatures, especially the strange animals living in tidal zones. During his time there, one of the educational directors approached him with an idea. They wanted someone to create a comic book that would make learning about marine life more engaging for students. Hillenburg jumped at the opportunity. He created The Intertidal Zone, an educational comic book featuring anthropomorphic sea creatures. The star of this educational comic was a character named Bob the Sponge, who served as the host and guide through various underwater adventures. Unlike the SpongeBob we know today, Bob the Sponge looked like an actual sea sponge, bumpy, irregular, and realistic. Hillenburg drew this way because he wanted to be scientifically accurate as a marine science teacher. The comic book worked perfectly for its intended purpose. Students loved learning about marine biology through Bob the Sponge and his underwater friends. But after 3 years of teaching, Hillenburg realized something important about himself. While he enjoyed educating people about ocean life, his real passion lay in art and animation. He had always loved drawing and painting, and the success of his comic book showed him a new path forward. In 1989, Hillenburg made a big decision. He left his teaching job and enrolled in the experimental animation program at the California Institute of the Arts in Valencia. This move would eventually change the world of animation forever, though Hillenburg had no way of knowing that at the time. His childhood fascination with the ocean had been sparked by watching Jacques Cousteau documentaries. Cousteau, the famous French oceanographer and filmmaker, opened young Steven's eyes to an underwater world he never knew existed. Those early impressions stayed with Hillenburg throughout his life, and they would later influence one of the most recognizable voices in animated television. After graduating from CalArts in 1992, Hillenburg joined the Nickelodeon team working on Rocko's Modern Life. He started as a director and eventually became the show's creative director. During this time, he worked alongside many talented people who would later join him on his next project, including voice actor Tom Kenny and writer Derek Drymon. While working on Rocko's Modern Life, Hillenburg met writer Martin Olson, who saw his old Intertidal Zone comic. Olson loved the concept and encouraged Hillenburg to consider turning it into an animated series. At first, Hillenburg wasn't thinking about creating his own show. He was focused on his work at Nickelodeon. But when Rocko's Modern Life ended in 1996, the opportunity presented itself. Hillenburg began developing his underwater world into a television series. He took Bob the Sponge and started transforming the character into something more suitable for animation. The realistic sponge design wouldn't work for a cartoon character who needed to be expressive and mobile. Real sponges, as Hillenburg knew from his marine biology background, mostly attach themselves to rocks and filter feed for their entire lives. They're interesting creatures, but they don't cook hamburgers or go on adventures. Instead, Hillenburg created a square, yellow sponge who could walk, talk, and get into all sorts of trouble. He wanted the character to be innocent and optimistic, drawing inspiration from comedy legends like Stan Laurel, Charlie Chaplin, Jerry Lewis, and Pee Wee Herman. The character needed to have that same childlike wonder and naive enthusiasm that made classic comedy work. The character's name went through some changes during development. Initially, Hillenburg wanted to call him SpongeBoy, with no last name. The show would have been called SpongeBoy Ahoy! This name made it through most of the development process, including the recording of the original 7-minute pilot episode. However, after the voice acting was completed, Nickelodeon's legal department discovered a major problem. The name SpongeBoy was already being used by another product, most likely an art-themed pencil, though for years people thought it was a mop. The legal team found that using SpongeBoy would create trademark conflicts. This discovery forced Hillenburg to find a new name quickly. He knew he had to keep the word sponge so viewers wouldn't mistake the character for a block of cheese. He settled on SpongeBob as the first name. The last name came from voice actor Tom Kenny, who saw a picture of the character and remarked something about this sponge in square pants, thinking he can get a job in a fast food place. Hillenburg loved the phrase square pants and felt it perfectly captured the character's nerdy, optimistic personality. The underwater setting of Bikini Bottom became Hillenburg's canvas for creating a world that was both scientifically inspired and completely fantastical. He drew from his marine biology knowledge to populate the town with various sea creatures, each with their own personalities and quirks. The town itself was designed to feel like a real place where people could live, work, and have adventures. One of the most distinctive elements of the show became the French narrator, who introduces episodes and provides transitions between scenes. This character was directly inspired by Hillenburg's childhood hero, Jacques Cousteau. The narrator, voiced by Tom Kenny, speaks with a French accent and wears the classic diving equipment that Cousteau was famous for, including the red beanie cap. In early storyboards and scripts for the pilot episode, Help Wanted, the French narrator was actually listed as Jacques Cousteau in the credits. The character represents Hillenburg's tribute to the man who first showed him the wonders of ocean exploration through documentaries and films. Cousteau's influence on the show was so significant that his son, Jean-Michel Cousteau, later appeared in special features on SpongeBob movie DVDs, talking about the real marine life that inspired the animated characters. The pilot episode, Help Wanted, was completed in 1997, but it wouldn't air until the 1st of May, 1999. The episode premiered as a sneak peek following the 1,999 Kids' Choice Awards on Nickelodeon. This first episode established the tone and style that would make SpongeBob SquarePants a global phenomenon. One of the most memorable aspects of Help Wanted was its use of Tiny Tim's version of Livin' in the Sunlight, Lovin' in the Moonlight. The song plays during a montage sequence where SpongeBob frantically cooks Krabby Patties for a horde of hungry anchovies. Hillenburg had played this song for Derek Drymon during the show's development as an example of the kind of enthusiasm and joy he wanted the series to capture. The crew originally only had an old, worn-out tape of the song, but they managed to secure the rights to use it in the pilot. The song choice was perfect. It captured SpongeBob's boundless energy and optimism while adding a quirky, nostalgic feel to the episode. Unfortunately, Tiny Tim died in November 1996, just around the time the pilot was being written, so he never knew his music would introduce a new generation to his work. The song choice would later create unexpected complications. When Nickelodeon prepared to release the first season of SpongeBob on DVD in 2003, they decided not to include Help Wanted because they didn't want to pay Tiny Tim's estate for home video rights to the song. This meant that the pilot episode, DVD 2-2, the very first SpongeBob adventure, was missing from the official Season 1 DVD collection. This situation lasted for several years, with Help Wanted only appearing as a bonus feature on later DVD releases, starting with the Season 3 box set in 2005. The copyright issues surrounding this one song kept fans from easily accessing the episode that started everything. Eventually, the episode was included in various compilation releases, but the initial omission demonstrated how music licensing can complicate home video releases. The pilot episode, Help Wanted, showcased all the elements that would make SpongeBob SquarePants special. The underwater setting felt both familiar and magical. The characters had distinct personalities that were immediately recognizable. The humor worked for both children and adults. Most importantly, the show had heart, FDN. It celebrated friendship, optimism, and finding joy in everyday situations. Hillenburg's background in marine biology gave the show an authenticity that other cartoons lacked. While SpongeBob took creative liberties with how sea creatures actually behave, the foundation was based on real scientific knowledge. Hillenburg knew how these animals actually lived, what they looked like, and how they interacted in their natural environments. This knowledge allowed him to create an underwater world that felt believable, even when characters were doing impossible things like making campfires on the ocean floor. The French narrator became an integral part of the show's identity, appearing in hundreds of episodes over the years. The character's reverent documentary-style introductions provided a sophisticated contrast to the silly adventures that followed. This balance between educational presentation and pure entertainment reflected Hillenburg's background as both a teacher and an entertainer. The success of Help Wanted proved that Hillenburg's vision could work. The pilot tested well with audiences and gave Nickelodeon confidence to order a full season. The show officially debuted on the 17th of July, 1999, with the episodes Bubble Stand and Ripped Pants, but Help Wanted remained the true beginning of the SpongeBob story. From a simple educational comic about tide pools to a billion-dollar entertainment franchise, SpongeBob SquarePants proved that great ideas can come from unexpected places. Stephen Hillenburg's journey from marine biology teacher to animation legend shows how passion, knowledge, and creativity can combine to create something truly special. The underwater world of Bikini Bottom began in a real place, the Orange County Marine Institute, SIS, where a young teacher wanted to help kids appreciate the wonders of ocean life. Today, SpongeBob SquarePants is recognized as one of the greatest animated series of all time. But it all started with Bob the Sponge, a simple educational character designed to teach children about marine biology. Sometimes the biggest ideas begin with the smallest, most sincere intentions. SpongeBob SquarePants started when marine biology teacher Stephen Hillenburg created an educational comic called The Intertidal Zone at the Orange County Marine Institute in 1984. The comic featured Bob the Sponge teaching kids about tide pools. After switching careers to animation and working on Rocko's Modern Life, Hillenburg transformed his educational comic into SpongeBob SquarePants. The character was originally going to be called Sponge Boy until trademark issues forced the name change. The French narrator was inspired by oceanographer Jacques Cousteau, Hillenburg's childhood hero. The pilot episode Help Wanted premiered the 1st of May 1999, featuring Tiny Tim's Livin' in the Sunlight, a song choice that later caused DVD release delays due to copyright issues. What began as a simple teaching tool about marine life became the most successful animated series in TV history. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to mapping the world, addresses, landmarks, and geography. Understanding SpongeBob's world means knowing the specific addresses, strange landmarks, and impossible geography that make Bikini Bottom feel both familiar and completely alien. The creators didn't just throw together random underwater locations, they built a comprehensive world with actual street addresses, detailed transportation systems, and locations that range from perfectly normal to absolutely nightmarish. The most famous address in all of animation might just be 124 Conch Street, where SpongeBob SquarePants lives with his pet snail Gary in a 3-story pineapple house. This address has become so iconic that it's been referenced in everything from real estate listings to hotel room themes. The pineapple itself has an interesting origin story. We learn that it fell from a cargo ship navigating above the ocean, magically sprouting windows and a door the moment it hit the seafloor. The neighborhood layout of Conch Street establishes the show's core dynamic perfectly. SpongeBob's pineapple sits between his two most important neighbors. Squidward Tentacles lives in a house shaped like a giant Easter Island head, while Patrick Star lives under a large rock. This arrangement creates the perfect setup for countless episodes, with SpongeBob's boundless enthusiasm constantly spilling over into the lives of his very different neighbors. The address system in Bikini Bottom works just like any real city. Post office deliveries reference 124 Conch Street, though they sometimes use alternate addresses like the Pineapple or the Big Pineapple for the same location. This attention to detail shows how thoroughly the creators thought about their underwater world's infrastructure. Conch Street intersects with other roads like Coral Avenue, creating a believable street grid that extends into the main areas of Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob's house is fully furnished across 3 stories, featuring everything from a massive library that spans 2 floors to multiple bathrooms and even an escape hatch to the roof. The interior design reflects SpongeBob's personality perfectly: inflatable furniture, nautical decorations, and a diving helmet-shaped television. His phone is shaped like a conch shell, naturally called a shell phone, and his clock resembles Gary the Snail. Every detail reinforces the underwater theme while maintaining the show's playful tone. Just a short distance from Conch Street lies one of Bikini Bottom's most popular destinations, Goo Lagoon. This location showcases the show's brilliant approach to underwater logic. It's a beach beneath the sea, complete with sand, surfing, and sunbathing. The French narrator introduces it in ripped pants as a stinky mud puddle to you and me, but to the inhabitants of Bikini Bottom, a wonderful, stinky mud puddle. Scientifically speaking, Goo Lagoon represents a real underwater phenomenon called a brine pool. These occur when water has an extremely high concentration of salt, creating pools of darker, denser liquid beneath regular seawater. Since SpongeBob takes place underwater, the characters can swim and surf in brine while already being surrounded by regular ocean water. This clever use of actual marine science gives the show's impossible premise a foundation in reality. Goo Lagoon first appeared in Ripped Pants, the episode that introduced Larry the Lobster and established the beach as SpongeBob's go-to location for athletic activities and social gatherings. The lagoon features multiple distinct areas, each serving different purposes. Muscle Beach is where all the bodybuilding fish hang out to lift weights and play volleyball. The weightlifting area has become iconic for SpongeBob's attempts to impress others, most memorably when he accidentally rips his pants while trying to lift a stick with 2 marshmallows attached. The beach includes a snack bar, various game areas, and even a pier with amusement park rides. Mount Climb Up and Fall Off sits nearby, living up to its descriptive name. Ripper's Reef, an island containing dangerous purple spikes, serves as a hazard for surfers and adds an element of genuine peril to the otherwise family-friendly beach environment. Later episodes expanded Goo Lagoon's role significantly. Sandcastles in the sand turned the entire beach into a war zone when SpongeBob and Patrick's friendly castle-building competition escalated into an epic battle featuring sand armies, tanks, and fighter jets. The episode showcased the beach's versatility as a setting while exploring themes of friendship and competition taken too far. The lagoon has hosted everything from Valentine's Day carnivals to surfing competitions to hot dog eating contests. Its consistent presence throughout the series makes it feel like a real place where the characters naturally spend their leisure time. The lifeguard towers, changing areas, and various recreational facilities all contribute to the location's authenticity. At the complete opposite end of the spectrum from Goo Lagoon's sunny beach atmosphere lies Rock Bottom, one of SpongeBob's most unsettling and memorable locations. This deep-sea city represents everything strange and uncomfortable about the ocean's darkest depths. SpongeBob first encounters Rock Bottom in the episode of the same name, when he and Patrick board the wrong bus home from Glove World and end up plummeting down a massive cliff into the abyssopelagic zone. Rock Bottom serves as SpongeBob's version of a nightmare city. The entire place feels wrong from the moment SpongeBob arrives. Even the soil talks, asking SpongeBob to put it down after he picks it up for examination. The bathroom signs use upside-down question marks, making it impossible for visitors to determine which facilities to use. Street signs hang at tilted angles, creating a sense of disorientation that perfectly captures the anxiety of being lost in an unfamiliar place. The most distinctive feature of Rock Bottom is its inhabitants' unique method of communication. Every resident speaks by blowing raspberries between words, creating a linguistic barrier that leaves SpongeBob completely unable to communicate. When he tries to ask for bus schedule information, the ticket window attendant can't understand his accent until SpongeBob starts incorporating raspberries into his own speech pattern. The bus system in Rock Bottom operates on its own incomprehensible schedule. SpongeBob waits in an impossibly long line at the bus station. He's 329th in line when he arrives, only to discover that the last bus to Bikini Bottom has already departed. The transportation infrastructure seems designed to trap visitors, with buses that deliberately avoid stops and schedules that make no logical sense. The episode uses Rock Bottom to explore themes of isolation and anxiety in a way that resonates with both children and adults. SpongeBob's increasing desperation, as he misses bus after bus, captures the universal experience of feeling stranded and helpless. The raspberry-speaking residents aren't malicious. They simply exist in a world with completely different rules and communication methods. The city's architecture reflects its unsettling nature. Buildings loom at wrong angles, creating oppressive shadows in the already dim environment. The anglerfish inhabitants use their natural bioluminescence as the primary light source, casting eerie glows throughout the urban landscape. Everything about Rock Bottom's design suggests a place where normal rules don't apply. Rock Bottom's resolution comes through an act of kindness from one of its strange residents. An anglerfish who initially seems threatening turns out to be helpful, returning SpongeBob's lost balloon and inflating it enough to carry him back to Bikini Bottom. This twist reinforces one of the show's core messages about not judging others based on appearances or first impressions. The location has appeared in various SpongeBob video games, where players can explore more of its geography beyond just the bus station and entrance areas. These expansions reveal additional districts and neighborhoods within Rock Bottom, suggesting a fully developed city with its own complex society and culture. Finally, Glove World represents SpongeBob's approach to pure, unfiltered fun. This glove-themed amusement park serves as the character's favorite destination for special occasions and adventures. First appearing in Rock Bottom and playing major roles in episodes like Roller Cowards, Tunnel of Glove, and Glove World R.I.P., the park embodies the show's commitment to taking simple concepts to their absolute extreme. Everything at Glove World relates to gloves in some way. The park sells glove-shaped balloons, glove lights, glove action figures, gloves for glove action figures, glove hats, glove candy dispensers, and glove-flavored glove candy. The mascot, Glovey Glove, appears throughout the park in various shows and photo opportunities. Even the basic infrastructure follows the glove theme. Rides are shaped like hands. Concession stands sell glovesicles, and the entrance features massive glove sculptures. The park's signature attraction is the Fiery Fist O' Pain, a massive roller coaster that comes with warning signs listing potential side effects, including crying, screaming, projectile vomiting, amnesia, spine loss, embarrassing accidents, uncontrollable gas, and explosive diarrhea. Riders must wear helmets, be taped to their seats, and sign waivers before boarding. The extreme nature of these warnings perfectly captures the show's ability to find humor and exaggeration. Glove World includes attractions for all ages and interests. The Mitten serves as a children's ride that SpongeBob and Patrick found thrilling as kids but discover they've outgrown. The Ferris wheel provides scenic views of the park, while the Hall of Mirrors offers the traditional funhouse experience of distorted reflections. Various carnival games, food stands, and gift shops round out the typical amusement park experience. The park's evolution throughout the series reflects the show's changing tone and themes. Early appearances present it as a place of pure joy and excitement. Later episodes like Glove World R.I.P. use the park's closure to explore themes of change and loss, though the show's inconsistent continuity means Glove World continues appearing in subsequent episodes despite supposedly being replaced by Glove Universe. The transportation to Glove World involves a bus system that connects it to Bikini Bottom, though the journey includes a dramatic cliff descent that takes visitors far from their familiar surroundings. This geographic isolation makes trips to Glove World feel like genuine adventures rather than casual outings. These 4 locations, 124 Conch Street, Goo Lagoon, Rock Bottom, and Glove World, represent different aspects of SpongeBob's world-building approach. The Pineapple House provides domestic comfort and neighborhood dynamics. Goo Lagoon offers recreational activities and social interaction. Rock Bottom explores anxiety and cultural differences. Glove World celebrates pure entertainment and escapism. Each location demonstrates the creator's attention to detail and commitment to internal consistency. Street addresses work like real addresses. Transportation systems operate on schedules and routes. Geographic features follow their own logical rules, even when those rules defy surface world physics. This thorough world building allows viewers to become fully immersed in Bikini Bottom's reality, making SpongeBob's adventures feel genuine despite their absurd premises. The mapping of SpongeBob's world extends far beyond these major locations, encompassing everything from the Krusty Krab's specific distance from residential areas to the various roads and transportation networks that connect different districts. This comprehensive geography creates a living, breathing world that feels as real as any actual city, just with better balloon-powered transportation and significantly more glove-themed entertainment options. SpongeBob's underwater world features detailed geography with real addresses and impossible physics. 124 Conch Street is SpongeBob's iconic Pineapple House address, situated between Squidward's Easter Island Head and Patrick's Rock. Goo Lagoon serves as an underwater beach based on real brine pools, the areas of super salty water that form distinct layers beneath regular seawater. First seen in Ripped Pants, it became the show's main recreation spot, later featuring epic sandcastle wars in Sandcastles in the Sand. Rock Bottom represents the series' darkest location, a nightmare city where residents speak by blowing raspberries between words. Street signs hang tilted, and bus schedules make no sense. Glove World is the ultimate theme park, dedicated entirely to gloves, featuring attractions like the spine-removing Fiery Fist O'Pain roller coaster. Each location demonstrates the creator's commitment to detailed world building, creating a comprehensive geography that feels real despite defying surface world logic. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Royal Canon quirks, King Neptune's many faces. Few SpongeBob characters have sparked as much fan debate and creative theorizing as King Neptune, the ocean's supreme ruler who somehow managed to look completely different every time he appeared on screen. From his debut in Neptune's Spatula to his movie makeover and beyond, Neptune's ever-changing appearance has become one of the franchise's most fascinating continuity puzzles. When King Neptune first materialized in clouds of smoke during Neptune's Spatula, he established himself as a classic deity figure. This Season 1 Neptune possessed the imposing presence you'd expect from the Roman god of the sea. He appeared as a muscular, green-skinned merman with flowing reddish-brown hair, a magnificent beard, and a chest that could rival any Greek statue. His golden crown sat regally atop his locks, and his overall design screamed, "Ancient God who takes no prisoners." This Neptune wielded genuine divine powers. He could shoot lightning from his fingers, change sizes at will, control objects with magic, and display superhuman strength. He lived in the mythical Atlantis, ruling from a palace befitting his status as an actual deity. His personality matched his godlike appearance, arrogant, demanding, and quick to dismiss mortals as unworthy. Yet beneath the bluster, he showed moments of fairness and even teachability, as when SpongeBob schooled him in the art of cooking with love, rather than magic. The Poseidome Challenge established this Neptune as someone who valued skill over station, even if it took him a while to admit it. His five-fingered hands, unusual for the SpongeBob universe, and detailed muscle definition marked him as a being from a different realm entirely. This was Neptune the God, complete with all the grandeur and complexity that divine status implies. Then came the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, and everything changed. The movie's Neptune looked like he'd been through a cosmic blender and reassembled by committee. Gone was the flowing hair, replaced by a shiny bald dome that he desperately tried to hide under various crowns and paper bags. His muscular physique had softened into a more rotund, less intimidating form. His skin shifted to a different shade of green, his nose grew larger, and his beard took on a completely different shape and color. Most drastically, this Neptune functioned less as a god and more as a tyrannical king. He lived not in the majestic Atlantis, but in a castle near Bikini Bottom, ruling through fear and brutal punishments. His powers seemed limited to what his trident could channel, lacking the diverse magical abilities of his predecessor. This Neptune was obsessed with executions, sending servants to 20 years in the dungeon for touching his crown during routine polishing duties. Jeffrey Tambor's voice work created an entirely different personality, Meanated B, more petulant, more insecure, more prone to tantrums. This Neptune was vain about his baldness, incompetent in his leadership, and quick to believe obvious lies like Plankton's transparent frame job of Mr. Krabs. He represented everything wrong with absolute power, a ruler more concerned with his image than his subjects' welfare. The movie also introduced Princess Mindy, Neptune's daughter, who had never been mentioned in connection with the TV series Neptune, who had a son named Triton instead. This family difference alone suggested these might be entirely separate characters. When The Clash of Triton aired in Season 6, viewers expected to see which version of Neptune the series would use going forward. Surprisingly, the episode featured the original TV design from Neptune's Spatula, complete with John O'Hurley reprising his voice role. This Neptune had his flowing hair restored and lived in his traditional palace, celebrating his 5,000th birthday with the same godlike presence that defined his debut. This created a fascinating situation. The TV series seemingly ignored the movie's redesign entirely, while the movie had created its own separate version of the character. Fans were left to grapple with two completely different King Neptunes existing in the same fictional universe. The behind-the-scenes explanation proves as interesting as any fan theory. According to series creator information, a firewall existed between Nickelodeon and Paramount content during the mid-2000s, preventing elements created for the first movie from being used in the TV series. This corporate policy meant that the movie's Neptune design, Princess Mindy, and even imagery from the Goofy Goober couldn't appear in the show, despite both properties featuring the same characters. The firewall was eventually lifted around 2014, allowing movie elements to seep back into the series. Neptune's movie crown appeared in episodes like Lost and Found and Insecurity Guards. The show even poked fun at the confusion by featuring both Neptune designs back-to-back in a 20th anniversary poster, implying they were separate characters entirely. But fans weren't content to let corporate politics explain away their beloved sea god's identity crisis. The SpongeBob community, known for its creative theorizing, developed elaborate explanations for Neptune's multiple appearances. The most popular theory suggests a royal dynasty system. In Krusty Towers, Squidward mentions King Neptune 14, implying numbered succession. Fans latched onto this detail, proposing that each different Neptune represents a new monarch in a long line of sea rulers. The TV series Neptune becomes Neptune 14, while the movie version might be Neptune XV, explaining their different appearances, personalities, and family members. This dynasty theory elegantly explains the contradictions. Different Neptunes would naturally have different children. TV Neptune has Triton, while movie Neptune has Mindy. They'd rule from different locations, one from Atlantis, another from a castle near Bikini Bottom. Their varying power levels make sense if some Neptunes inherited more divine abilities than others. Some fans took the theory further, suggesting the movie Neptune represents what happens when divine bloodlines weaken over generations. His reduced magical abilities, increased vanity, and poor leadership could reflect the deterioration of godly power through successive rulers. This would explain why he's more king than god compared to his predecessor. Another camp proposed the different timeline theory. They argued that Queen Amphitrite, Neptune's wife, introduced in The Clash of Triton, had different relationship outcomes in parallel universes. In one timeline, she chose the muscular, godlike Neptune, resulting in the TV series version. In another, she ended up with the bald, insecure Neptune from the movie. This multiverse approach would explain why the two Neptunes seem completely unrelated despite sharing names and titles. A more mundane but equally creative theory suggests the same Neptune simply went through major life changes between appearances. Maybe he suffered male pattern baldness, explaining the movie version's insecurity about his appearance. Perhaps a political upheaval forced him to move from Atlantis to a smaller castle. Some fans even proposed plastic surgery gone wrong, resulting in his completely different facial features. The age and stress theory gained traction among fans who preferred continuity over separate characters. They argued that ruling the ocean for millennia would take its toll on anyone, divine or not. The movie Neptune's increased irritability, poor decision-making, and physical deterioration could represent the effects of eons of leadership stress. His obsession with his crown and appearance might reflect a midlife crisis on a cosmic scale. Some fans went meta with their explanations, suggesting that the different Neptune designs reflected the evolution of SpongeBob as a series. The original Neptune represented the show's early confidence and mythological ambitions. The movie version reflected Hollywood's tendency to make characters more relatable and flawed. Later appearances showed the series finding balance between godlike grandeur and character accessibility. The most elaborate fan theory proposed a complex political system where multiple Neptunes shared power across different oceanic regions. This would explain why they never encountered each other, and why their jurisdictions seemed to overlap. The TV Neptune ruled magical affairs from Atlantis, while the movie Neptune handled day-to-day governance from his practical castle location. Recent SpongeBob movies have added even more Neptune variations, with Sponge on the Run introducing Poseidon as a separate character entirely. This has led fans to distinguish between Neptune, Roman, and Poseidon Greek as different deities in the SpongeBob universe, though they fulfill similar narrative functions. The Neptune confusion reflects broader questions about SpongeBob's continuity. The series has never maintained strict chronological consistency, allowing episodes to contradict each other regularly. Characters change designs, locations shift appearances, and plot elements get ignored or contradicted without explanation. In this context, Neptune's many faces become just one example of the show's flexible relationship with its own canon. What makes the Neptune situation special is how fans have embraced, rather than rejected, the inconsistencies. Instead of demanding official explanations, the community has turned the confusion into a creative playground. Fan forums feature detailed timelines attempting to reconcile different Neptune appearances. Fan art depicts meetings between the various Neptune versions. Some fans have even created genealogical charts, mapping potential relationships between different Neptune designs. This creative response speaks to SpongeBob's unique position in popular culture. The show's surreal humor and cartoon logic have trained viewers to accept impossibilities as normal. In a world where characters can light campfires underwater and somehow have beaches beneath the sea, multiple versions of the same character seem perfectly reasonable. The Neptune mystery also demonstrates how modern audiences engage with transmedia franchises. When official sources provide conflicting information, fans step in to create coherence through shared interpretation and creative speculation. The various Neptune theories show sophisticated understanding of storytelling conventions, corporate production realities, and franchise management. Perhaps most remarkably, the different Neptune designs have enhanced rather than diminished the character's appeal. Each version brings unique elements to the SpongeBob universe. The original Neptune provided mythological gravitas and magical spectacle. The movie Neptune offered character flaws and emotional complexity. Later appearances have balanced these approaches while acknowledging the character's complex history. King Neptune's many faces ultimately represent something larger than simple design inconsistencies. They embody SpongeBob's ability to reinvent itself while maintaining core appeal. Whether he appears as a godlike figure, an insecure ruler, or something in between, Neptune continues fulfilling his narrative purpose as the ocean's ultimate authority figure. The fan theories surrounding Neptune's multiple appearances have become as much a part of SpongeBob lore as any official episode. In trying to make sense of the impossible, the community has created rich mythologies that enhance everyone's understanding and enjoyment of the series. In the end, King Neptune's many faces reflect the creative chaos that has always defined SpongeBob SquarePants. Rather than being a problem to solve, they're a feature to celebrate, proof that in Bikini Bottom, even the gods can surprise you. King Neptune has appeared in completely different designs throughout SpongeBob, creating one of the series' biggest continuity puzzles. The original TV Neptune from Neptune's Spatula, Season 1, was a muscular, hairy, godlike figure voiced by John O'Hurley, who lived in Atlantis and wielded genuine divine powers. The SpongeBob movie completely redesigned him as a bald, insecure king, voiced by Jeffrey Tambor, who ruled through tyranny and lived in a castle near Bikini Bottom. Later TV appearances returned to the original design, ignoring the movie version entirely. Behind the scenes, a corporate firewall between Nickelodeon and Paramount prevented movie elements from appearing in the show until 2014. Fans developed elaborate theories to reconcile these differences: Royal Dynasty succession, Neptune 14 versus XV, parallel timelines, stress-induced aging, or separate characters entirely. The community embraced the inconsistency as creative fuel rather than a flaw, generating detailed theories about oceanic politics and divine genealogies. Neptune's design chaos ultimately represents SpongeBob's flexible relationship with its own canon and fans' ability to create coherence through shared imagination. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to time, memory, and reality bends. On the 31st of December 1999, SIS, the last day of the old millennium, SpongeBob aired one of its strangest episodes ever. SB 129 took viewers on a wild trip through time that would change how fans thought about the show's rules forever. This wasn't just another silly adventure. It was SpongeBob's first big experiment with bending reality itself. The episode starts simple enough. Squidward wants to play his clarinet in peace, but SpongeBob and Patrick keep asking him to go jellyfishing. So Squidward hides in the Krusty Krab freezer to get away from them. The door gets stuck. He tells himself someone will find him soon. Nobody does. 2,000 years later, the freezer door finally breaks open. A frozen Squidward falls out like an ice cube. Spongetron, a robot version of SpongeBob from the far future, thaws him out. Everything in this chrome-covered world is shiny and cold. The trees are metal. The grass is silver paint. Even the jellyfish are mechanical. Squidward freaks out. He begs Spongetron for a way back home. Spongetron shows him a time machine, a weird contraption with levers marked past and future. Squidward figures if he goes back before SpongeBob was born, he can finally have some quiet time. The machine sends him way back to prehistoric times. Squidward thinks he's safe at last. Then he meets Primitive Sponge and Primitive Star, caveman versions of his annoying neighbors. They're the same loud, curious creatures, just wearing animal skins instead of pants. The primitive duo keeps getting zapped by a jellyfish and screaming about it. Squidward gets so fed up that he teaches them how to catch jellyfish with nets. They love this new game. Squidward has accidentally invented jellyfishing, the very activity he was trying to escape. When he tries to play clarinet, the awful music drives the cavemen crazy. They chase him back to the time machine. Panicking, Squidward yanks too hard on the controls. The machine breaks. Now he's trapped in nowhere, a white void filled with floating blocks and strange echoing voices. At first, Squidward is happy to finally be alone, but the emptiness starts to scare him. He runs around desperately looking for the time machine, crying out that he misses SpongeBob and wants to go home. The machine suddenly appears. Squidward falls through its roof and begs it to take him back to his own time. When he returns to present-day Bikini Bottom, SpongeBob and Patrick are waiting outside the time machine, asking if he's ready to go jellyfishing. For once, Squidward is happy to see them, until they remind him that he's the one who invented jellyfishing in the first place. Realizing he's created a time loop, Squidward declares he's going back to fix his mistake. The episode ends with him walking back into the time machine. This episode did something no SpongeBob story had done before. It played with time travel, multiple timelines, and the idea that actions in the past could change the future. It also introduced the concept that maybe different versions of the same characters exist across different time periods. But SB-129 represents something much bigger than just a time travel story. It shows how SpongeBob approaches consistency and rules. The show has always been more interested in making good jokes than keeping its facts straight. Think about how many times SpongeBob has failed his driving test. Sometimes it's 38 times, sometimes it's 78, sometimes the number changes completely. His age jumps around too. He acts like a kid but has a job and lives alone. The show picks whatever age works best for each story. The Krusty Krab changes size and layout depending on what the episode needs. Sometimes it has a basement, sometimes it doesn't. The freezer where Squidward gets stuck appears and disappears as needed. The show creates whatever spaces work for individual stories. Characters forget things they learned in previous episodes. Patrick sometimes doesn't have a sister, then suddenly he does. Squidward claims he's never eaten a Krabby Patty, even though we've seen him eat them before. Mr. Krabs' backstory changes depending on which origin story the writers want to tell. SpongeBob can lift heavy objects when the story needs him to be strong, but struggles with marshmallows when the story needs him to be weak. Patrick can be smart enough to solve complex problems in one episode, then forget how to breathe in the next. Characters have bones when the story needs X-rays, but turn into squishy blobs when they need to fit through small spaces. Fire burns underwater. Characters drink water while living in water. They go to the beach at the bottom of the ocean. These things make no logical sense, but they make perfect cartoon sense. This flexible approach to reality isn't a bug, it's a feature. SpongeBob has always been more like a collection of comedy sketches than a continuous story. Each episode exists in its own little universe where different rules might apply. The writers pick and choose which elements to keep consistent based on what serves each individual story best. SB-129 embraces this chaos by making time travel and alternate realities part of the show's DNA. If Squidward can meet future robot versions and prehistoric ancestors of his neighbors, then anything is possible. If he can accidentally create the very thing he hates by traveling to the past, then cause and effect work differently in SpongeBob's world. The episode also explores what happens when you get exactly what you think you want. Squidward spends the whole story trying to get away from SpongeBob and Patrick. When he finally succeeds and ends up alone in the void, he realizes he actually needs them. The annoying neighbors he's been avoiding are what make his life meaningful. This theme shows up throughout the series. Characters often learn that their problems come from their own attitudes, not their circumstances. Squidward's misery comes from his refusal to enjoy life, not from SpongeBob's enthusiasm. Plankton's failures come from his evil schemes, not from the recipe he's trying to steal. The show suggests that how you look at the world matters more than what's actually happening to you. The Nowhere sequence in SB-129 became one of SpongeBob's most famous moments. The white void with floating shapes and weird voices scared kids and fascinated adults. It felt like something from an art film, not a children's cartoon. The scene showed that SpongeBob was willing to go to dark, strange places that other kids' shows wouldn't touch. This willingness to experiment with tone and style has always set SpongeBob apart. The show can be silly and sweet in one scene, then surreal and unsettling in the next. It trusts its audience to follow along, even when things get weird. SB-129 proved that SpongeBob could handle complex ideas like time travel and existential loneliness without losing its sense of humor. The episode also started SpongeBob's tradition of mind-bending episodes that mess with reality. Later stories would feature magic pencils that bring drawings to life, parallel dimensions where everyone is opposite, and dreams that become real. SB-129 showed that the series could stretch beyond its usual underwater setting and explore any kind of story the writers wanted to tell. Most importantly, SB-129 taught fans to expect the unexpected. In SpongeBob's world, anything can happen. Characters can travel through time, meet alternate versions of themselves, and accidentally create paradoxes. The show's rules exist to be broken whenever it makes the story more interesting. This approach has kept SpongeBob fresh for over 2 decades. Instead of getting locked into a rigid format, the show can reinvent itself whenever needed. It can tell prehistoric adventures, futuristic robot stories, time travel mysteries, or simple slice-of-life comedies. The only constant is that there are no constants. Some fans get frustrated by the show's loose relationship with continuity. They want to know exactly how old SpongeBob is, or whether he really has bones, or why fire works underwater. But these questions miss the point. SpongeBob isn't trying to create a realistic world with consistent rules. It's trying to create a playground where any kind of story is possible. The series treats each episode like a separate cartoon short that happens to feature the same characters. This gives the writers incredible freedom. They can make SpongeBob a baby, an old man, or a superhero depending on what the story needs. They can destroy Bikini Bottom one week and have it back to normal the next. They can kill characters and bring them back to life without explanation. This elastic approach to storytelling reflects how cartoons have always worked. In classic Tom and Jerry shorts, the cat could get flattened by an anvil in one scene and be perfectly fine in the next. Bugs Bunny could dress up as anything and fool anyone, no matter how obvious the disguise. Cartoon logic has always been different from real-world logic. SpongeBob updates this tradition for modern audiences. Instead of just ignoring physics, it openly plays with concepts like time travel and alternate dimensions. Instead of pretending its contradictions don't exist, it makes them part of the fun. The show acknowledges that it doesn't make perfect sense, and invites viewers to enjoy the ride anyway. SB 129 represents SpongeBob at its most creative and experimental. It takes a simple premise, Squidward hiding from his neighbors, and turns it into an epic journey through time and space. It combines silly jokes with deep themes about friendship and loneliness. It creates memorable images that stick with viewers years later. Most of all, it shows that SpongeBob is willing to go anywhere and try anything in service of a good story. Time, memory, and reality are just tools to be bent and shaped however the writers need them. In SpongeBob's world, the only rule is that there are no rules, and that's exactly what makes it so much fun to watch. SB 129 was SpongeBob's first time travel episode, airing on the 31st of December 1999. Squidward hides from SpongeBob and Patrick in the Krusty Krab freezer, gets stuck for 2,000 years, and wakes up in a chrome future with robot Spongetron. Using a time machine, he visits prehistoric times and meets caveman versions of his neighbors. When he accidentally invents jellyfishing, the thing he was trying to escape, he breaks the time machine and gets trapped in a scary white void called Nowhere. This episode showed that SpongeBob cares more about telling good stories than following strict rules. The show constantly changes details. Note age, SpongeBob's age, test failures, character knowledge, depending on what each episode needs. Characters can be strong or weak, smart or dumb, have bones or be squishy, all based on what makes the best joke. This elastic continuity lets SpongeBob tell any kind of story, from time travel to robot futures to prehistoric adventures, without getting stuck in boring consistency rules. The show treats each episode like its own little cartoon world where anything can happen. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the Krusty Krab mythos. The Krusty Krab stands as more than just a cartoon backdrop in the SpongeBob universe. This humble underwater burger joint has evolved into one of television's most detailed fictional establishments, complete with its own mythology, corporate culture, and surprisingly complex burger-making procedures. From training videos that parody corporate America to hidden pickles that drive fry cooks to mental breakdowns, the Krusty Krab has become a character unto itself. Even more remarkably, this fictional restaurant has transcended animation to impact real-world trademark law, proving that some cartoon locations carry genuine legal weight in federal courtrooms. The corporate machine Krusty Krab training video as business satire. The 2002 episode Krusty Krab training video represents one of SpongeBob's most brilliant pieces of corporate satire. The episode presents itself as an actual industrial training video, complete with a professional narrator congratulating SpongeBob as a newly hired employee. From the opening moments, viewers are treated to a pitch-perfect parody of every mundane corporate training video ever produced. The narrator explains the restaurant's humble origins with typical corporate mythology. Mr. Krabs, suffering from depression after the war, discovered a bankrupt retirement home called the Rusty Krab and transformed it into the thriving Krusty Krab. This backstory established the restaurant's corporate lore decades before Friend or Foe would provide the complete origin story. The training video presents Mr. Krabs as a visionary entrepreneur whose hard work, perseverance, vision, determination, and sweat built the empire. What makes the episode particularly clever is how it treats basic restaurant equipment as revolutionary technology. The spatula becomes an advanced patty control mechanism, while the cash register transforms into an automated money handling system. Ice cubes are high-quality beverage temperature devices that are imported, and ketchup packets become state-of-the-art condiment dispersal units. This corporate doublespeak perfectly captures how training videos can make the most ordinary tasks sound impossibly sophisticated. The episode introduces the fundamental Krusty Krab philosophy through the acronym POOP, People Order Our Patties. This simple concept becomes the foundation of employee training, suggesting that understanding customer behavior requires corporate acronyms and structured thinking. The training video even includes a multiple-choice quiz to test comprehension, asking whether a customer will order a sofa, an expensive haircut, or a patty. SpongeBob serves as the ideal employee throughout the video, demonstrating proper hygiene by washing his hands until they become invisible from scrubbing. Meanwhile, Squidward represents the bad employee, wearing an "I really wish I weren't here right now" button and displaying the classic signs of workplace disengagement. Inattentive, impatient, a glazed look in the eyes. The episode builds tremendous anticipation as SpongeBob repeatedly asks if he can make a Krabby Patty, only to be told he needs more training. The narrator promises to reveal the sacred and dark secrets of Krabby Patty preparation, describing it as the sumptuous, the lip-moistening, spine-tingling, heart-stopping pleasure center. However, in a masterstroke of comedy timing, the episode cuts to credits just as the narrator begins to reveal the secret formula, leaving both SpongeBob and viewers hanging forever. This abrupt ending serves multiple purposes. It protects the show's central mystery while perfectly capturing the frustration of corporate bureaucracy, where endless training never quite leads to meaningful work. The episode's brilliant satire lies in how it makes viewers genuinely invested in corporate training procedures, turning mundane employee orientation into compelling television. The pickle incident, Bubble Bass, and the most granular burger detail, pickles, contains what might be the most detailed food-related plot point in animated television history. When the pompous food critic Bubble Bass orders a Krabby Patty and claims SpongeBob forgot the pickles, it triggers a psychological breakdown that explores the precise mechanics of burger construction and the fragile nature of professional confidence. Bubble Bass arrives with an impossibly complex order delivered in restaurant industry slang. "I want a triple bossy deluxe on a raft, 4x4 animal style, extra shingles with a shimmy and a squeeze, light axle grease, make it cry, burn it, and let it swim." This order, which parodies In-N-Out Burger's secret menu, translates roughly to a heavily customized burger with multiple patties, special preparation methods, and various toppings. The fact that SpongeBob immediately understands this complex food service terminology demonstrates his professional expertise. When Bubble Bass claims the pickles are missing, SpongeBob's confidence completely collapses. The episode shows SpongeBob tearing apart the burger searching for pickles, desperately repeating "pickles, pickles, pickles." The missing pickles aren't just a minor order mistake, they represent SpongeBob's entire professional identity. As the self-proclaimed best fry cook in Bikini Bottom, forgetting such a basic ingredient challenges his core sense of self. The psychological aftermath proves devastating. SpongeBob loses the ability to construct burgers in the proper sequence, forgetting the fundamental order: first bun, then patty, followed by ketchup, mustard, pickles, extra onions, lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, and bun, in that order. He attempts various incorrect combinations like bun down, then ketchup, then mustard, then pickles. No, that's not right. The episode shows him trying increasingly absurd combinations, even adding a shoe and a pan to one attempt. The burger construction sequence reveals the precise methodology behind SpongeBob's cooking. Every Krabby Patty follows an exact formula, and disrupting this sequence destroys SpongeBob's ability to function. The episode suggests that mastery in any field requires such ingrained patterns that questioning one element can unravel the entire system. Mr. Krabs recognizes the severity of SpongeBob's breakdown and sends him home to recover. The episode then shows SpongeBob's complete mental deterioration. Eggs and toast nailed to walls, furniture overturned, music playing backwards, and SpongeBob wearing underwear on his head while speaking in confused sentence fragments. His speech becomes jumbled. "I anything can't do right since because pickles and I don't think ready back go to work, Mr. Krabs." Meanwhile, Squidward takes over cooking duties with predictably disastrous results. His incompetence becomes so legendary that customers begin asking for doggy bags before ordering, expecting inedible food. This reinforces SpongeBob's irreplaceable value while demonstrating how specialized skills can't be easily transferred. The episode's resolution provides one of the most satisfying moments in the series. When Bubble Bass returns and again claims missing pickles, SpongeBob carefully examines his mouth and discovers the truth. Bubble Bass has been hiding the pickles under his tongue the entire time, along with pickles from his previous visit and even someone's car keys. This revelation vindicates SpongeBob completely while exposing Bubble Bass as a fraudulent critic who was stealing food through deception. The pickle incident works because it treats a seemingly minor detail with complete seriousness. The episode never mocks SpongeBob's obsession with proper burger construction. Instead, it validates his professional standards while revealing how easily confidence can be undermined by dishonest criticism. The origin story, Friend or Foe, and the Krabby Patty's creation. The 2007 television event Friend or Foe provided the definitive origin story for both the Krusty Krab and the legendary rivalry between Mr. Krabs and Plankton. Unlike many origin stories that diminish their subjects through over-explanation, Friend or Foe enhances the mythology by revealing how the series' central conflict emerged from a destroyed friendship and an accidentally perfect recipe. The episode begins with another of Plankton's elaborate schemes to steal the Krabby Patty formula, this time hiding inside a birthday cake. After Mr. Krabs easily thwarts the attempt. SpongeBob asks the question that drives the entire episode. Why does he hate us so? Mister. Krabs' response, you might as well blame me. SpongeBob sets up a story that's surprisingly emotional for a children's cartoon. The flashback reveals that Eugene Krabs and Sheldon Plankton were born on the same day and remained best friends throughout childhood. The episode shows them as babies sharing a crib mobile, toddlers diving into birthday cake together, and elementary school outcasts defending each other against bullies. Their friendship was built on shared experiences as unpopular kids who found strength in their partnership. The backstory establishes that young Krabs lived in poverty, wearing tattered clothes and being mocked by classmates. When a spitball hits Plankton during science class, Krabs immediately stands up for his friend, shouting, "Hey, barnacle brains! I think you owe Plankton an apology." This moment shows Krabs' loyalty and establishes the protective dynamic that would later be twisted into business rivalry. The boys' entrepreneurial ambitions began at Stinky Burgers, the town's only restaurant. Stinky was portrayed as a hypocritical businessman who served terrible food while claiming to love his customers. When Stinky cruelly rejects the boys' request for jobs, calling them crawly bottom feeders, it motivates their decision to start their own restaurant. Their first attempt at business comes at the town dump, which Krabs later recognizes as poor planning. Do you think it was a good idea to open in a dump? Their burgers taste horrible, driving away their only customers and forcing them to eat their own failed products. The boys spend days trying different recipes, but everything they create is inedible. The Krabby Patty's creation happens through pure accident. During an argument about their failing business, Plankton storms out, slamming the door with such force that ingredients fall from a shelf into their cooking pot. The resulting burger is perfect, creating the formula that would define both their futures. However, the accident immediately destroys their friendship, as both boys claim credit for the recipe. The episode shows their argument escalating into physical conflict, with the tiny Plankton unable to match Krabs' strength. Krabs claims the formula and transforms their shared restaurant into a portable version he can carry around school. The partnership dissolves completely, with Plankton declaring, "If it's war you want, it's war you'll get." What makes Friend or Foe particularly effective is how it explains the series' central conflict without removing its tension. The episode reveals that Plankton's obsession with stealing the formula isn't just about business success, it's about reclaiming a shared achievement from his former best friend. Similarly, Krabs' protective attitude toward the formula stems not just from greed, but from his determination to keep the symbol of his greatest triumph. The episode's ending provides false hope for reconciliation. After Karen points out how the formula has ruined a beautiful friendship, both Krabs and Plankton tearfully admit they miss each other. Krabs says, "You were my only true friend that didn't have a president printed on him," while Plankton confesses his schemes were really attempts to steal back our friendship. They embrace and seem ready to daze. They reconcile until Plankton immediately steals the formula from Krabs' pocket, proving that some conflicts run too deep for easy resolution. Real-world impact: the 2017 Krusty Krab trademark case. In one of the most surreal examples of fiction impacting reality, the Krusty Krab became the subject of serious federal litigation that established important precedents for intellectual property protection of fictional elements within television shows. The case, Viacom International Incorporated, VIJR Capital Investments LLC, would ultimately vindicate Viacom's claims through both district and appellate court rulings. The controversy began when Houston businessman Javier Ramos Jr. attempted to open real restaurants called the Krusty Krab in Texas and California. Ramos claimed the name came from the crusted glaze on seafood rather than the SpongeBob show, though he later admitted in depositions that he had researched the name online and encountered the SpongeBob connection before filing his trademark application. Ramos initially believed he was safe because Viacom had never registered the Krusty Krab as a trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. His research showed no existing restaurant using the name, and his application received approval from the USPTO. However, Viacom responded with a cease and desist letter in November 2015, followed by a federal lawsuit in January 2016 claiming trademark infringement and unfair competition. The legal battle centered on whether fictional elements from television shows could receive trademark protection. Viacom had to prove two key points: that it owned a legally protectable mark in the Krusty Krab, and that Ramos's use would create consumer confusion about licensing or affiliation. U.S. District Judge Gray Miller initially ruled for Viacom in January 2017, citing Fifth Circuit precedent that ownership of a trademark is established by use, not by registration. Miller found that the Krusty Krab's prominent role in the SpongeBob franchise established it as a source identifier for Viacom's products and services. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed this ruling in May 2018, establishing several important legal principles. The three-judge panel held that specific elements from within a television show, as opposed to the title of the show itself, are entitled to trademark protection. The court compared the case to previous decisions. protecting the Daily Planet from Superman and the General Lee car from the Dukes of Hazzard. The court found compelling evidence of Viacom's trademark ownership. The Krusty Krab appears in over 80% of SpongeBob episodes, plays prominent roles in 2 feature films, and appears extensively in licensed merchandise, including aquarium figurines, Lego playsets, and children's toys. Judge Priscilla Owen wrote that, "The Krusty Krab's central role in the multi-billion-dollar SpongeBob franchise is strong evidence that it is recognized in itself as an indication of origin for Viacom's licensed goods and television services." The court also found substantial likelihood of consumer confusion based on the Krusty Krab's fame and extensive use across the SpongeBob franchise and licensed merchandise. The court reasoned that SpongeBob fans, both children and adults, would likely assume any Krusty Krab restaurant was officially licensed, given the mark's central role in the multi-billion-dollar franchise. Ramos's attorneys argued that the ruling would create a chilling effect on legitimate businesses, making entrepreneurs liable for trademark infringement merely for filing applications. They contended that without SpongeBob-themed decor or references, consumers wouldn't connect a seafood restaurant to the cartoon. However, the court found these arguments unpersuasive, particularly given Ramos's admission that he knew about the SpongeBob connection before filing his application. The case established that fictional restaurants, stores, and other business establishments can receive trademark protection if they serve as source identifiers for real-world products and services. The decision protects media companies' investments in developing fictional worlds while ensuring that entrepreneurs cannot simply appropriate well-known fictional business names for their own commercial purposes. The ruling has broader implications for the entertainment industry, confirming that valuable fictional elements deserve legal protection even without formal registration. Companies that create detailed fictional worlds can now more confidently defend their intellectual property against real-world appropriation, while entrepreneurs must be more careful about using names that might connect to existing entertainment properties. The Krusty Krab trademark case demonstrates how thoroughly SpongeBob SquarePants has penetrated American culture. A fictional underwater restaurant created for a children's cartoon became important enough to warrant federal appellate court attention, proving that some animated establishments carry genuine commercial and legal significance in the real world. The enduring legacy of underwater corporate culture. The Krusty Krab's evolution from simple cartoon setting to complex fictional institution reflects SpongeBob SquarePants' sophisticated world building. Through episodes like Krusty Krab Training Video, the show created a complete corporate culture with its own procedures, philosophies, and training materials. The Pickles episode demonstrated that even animated food preparation could be treated with genuine professional respect and attention to detail. Friend or Foe provided emotional depth to the restaurant's origins while explaining the central conflict that drives the entire series. Most remarkably, the 2018 Fifth Circuit ruling proved that fictional establishments can transcend their animated origins to impact real-world legal precedent. The appellate court's decision established that well-developed fictional elements deserve the same intellectual property protection as real businesses, confirming the Krusty Krab's status as more than just a cartoon backdrop. These episodes and legal developments combine to show how thoughtful creators can build fictional worlds that feel genuinely real to audiences. The Krusty Krab works because it was developed with the same attention to detail that real restaurants require: corporate training programs, specific food preparation procedures, origin stories, and legal protections. By treating its underwater burger joint with complete seriousness, SpongeBob SquarePants created one of television's most believable fictional businesses, one that proved real enough to warrant federal court protection. The Krusty Krab evolved from a simple cartoon setting into one of TV's most detailed fictional establishments, creating its own complete mythology across several key episodes and real-world legal precedent. Krusty Krab Training Video, 2002, serves as brilliant corporate satire, presenting itself as an actual industrial training video complete with the POOP acronym, People Order Our Patties, corporate doublespeak that turns basic equipment into advanced patty control mechanisms, and an infamous cliffhanger ending that cuts to credits just before revealing the secret formula. Pickles, 1999, contains the most granular burger detail in animation history. When food critic Bubble Bass claims SpongeBob forgot pickles on his Krabby Patty, it triggers a complete psychological breakdown that reveals the precise burger construction sequence. The resolution discovering Bubble Bass hid the pickles under his tongue the whole time provides one of the series' most satisfying moments. Friend or Foe, 2007, delivered the definitive origin story, revealing that Mr. Krabs and Plankton were childhood best friends whose partnership ended when they accidentally created the perfect Krabby Patty recipe. Their fight over credit for the formula destroyed their friendship and created the series' central conflict. The 2018 Fifth Circuit court case proved the Krusty Krab's real-world significance when Viacom successfully sued to prevent a Houston businessman from opening actual restaurants with the name. The appellate court ruled that fictional TV elements can receive trademark protection, establishing that the Krusty Krab was legally protectable due to its central role across 80% of SpongeBob episodes, movies, and merchandise. Together, these episodes and legal developments demonstrate how thoughtful creators can build fictional worlds that feel genuinely real, so real they warrant federal court protection. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Bikini Bottom's heroes, monsters, and movie stars. SpongeBob SquarePants has filled Bikini Bottom with amazing characters beyond the main cast. The show features old superheroes, scary movie monsters, and famous celebrities who create some of the most memorable moments in the series. These characters show how SpongeBob could surprise viewers by bringing together completely different worlds in ways that somehow made perfect sense. Old school heroes, Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy first appeared in SpongeBob in August 1999, becoming two of the show's most beloved characters. These aging superheroes were voiced by comedy legends Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway, who had worked together decades earlier on the TV show McHale's Navy. Their casting was perfect because both actors brought years of experience, making people laugh together. Ernest Borgnine played Mermaid Man, an old superhero who suffers from memory problems and yells "evil" whenever he hears that word. Tim Conway voiced Barnacle Boy, the more sensible but often grumpy sidekick who gets frustrated by always being treated like a child even though he's 68 years old. The show's creators specifically wanted these two actors from the beginning because they were fans of their earlier work together. These characters work as both real superheroes in Bikini Bottom and stars of SpongeBob and Patrick's favorite TV show. They live in Shady Shoals retirement home, which shows that even legendary heroes get old. The show uses them to explore what happens when famous people age and how fans sometimes have unrealistic expectations of their heroes. Mermaid Man carries a utility belt with different gadgets, but he sometimes forgets how to use them properly. His supervision doesn't always work right, and he often takes naps during important moments. Barnacle Boy gets angry about being called a boy and being treated as less important than his partner. This anger reaches a peak in one episode where he actually joins the bad guys just to get more respect. Their main enemies include Man Ray, a classic villain voiced by John Rhys Davies, and the Dirty Bubble, who is literally a giant soap bubble that traps people inside. These villains fit perfectly into the underwater world while maintaining the comic book style that makes superhero stories work. What makes these characters special is how they balance superhero action with realistic portrayals of elderly people. Episodes usually start with SpongeBob and Patrick being excited fans, but then show the everyday reality of the heroes' lives. They take naps, forget things, and sometimes struggle with basic tasks. This mix of comedy and real emotions creates characters that entertain kids with superhero stuff while giving adults something deeper to think about. The characters helped expand SpongeBob's world by showing that Bikini Bottom exists in a larger universe with superheroes, villains, and cosmic dangers. Their comic book series and merchandise within the show mirror real superhero franchises, creating jokes about how the entertainment industry works. When Ernest Borgnine died in 2012, the show's creator Steven Hillenburg decided not to replace him with another actor. Instead, Mermaid Man only appears in silent scenes or when other characters dress up as him. The same thing happened when Tim Conway became too sick to continue and later died in 2019. This decision to retire the characters rather than find new voices shows how much respect the show had for these legendary performers. Horror comes to Bikini Bottom, the Nosferatu scene. The 2002 episode Graveyard Shift contains one of SpongeBob's most famous moments: the sudden appearance of Count Orlok from the 1922 horror movie Nosferatu. This brief scene at the episode's end became legendary and introduced classic scary movies to kids who had never seen them before. The episode takes place during the Krusty Krab's first night shift. To pass time, Squidward tries to scare SpongeBob by making up a story about the hash-slinging slasher. This fake ghost was supposedly a fry cook who cut off his hand, replaced it with a rusty spatula, and died when a bus hit him. According to Squidward's story, every Tuesday night the ghost comes back to the restaurant, and you can tell he's coming by 3 signs: lights flickering, phone calls where nobody talks, and seeing his scary shadow. The episode builds real suspense when all of Squidward's made-up signs start happening for real. The lights flicker mysteriously, the phone rings with silence on the other end, and finally a dark figure matching the ghost's description appears outside. Both SpongeBob and Squidward become terrified, thinking the supernatural threat is actually real. The clever twist reveals that 2 of the 3 supernatural signs have normal explanations. The scary shadow turns out to be a nervous person looking for a job who had called earlier but hung up without speaking. This leaves only the flickering lights unexplained, which is when the episode delivers its most memorable moment. The camera shows Count Orlok from Nosferatu standing by the light switch, with SpongeBob, Squidward, and the job seeker casually saying "Nosferatu" like they know him. This scene wasn't originally planned. Writer Jay Lender says there was supposed to be a character called Floorboard Harry who lived under the restaurant and caused the light problems. When that idea got cut, Lender needed something else and remembered seeing a picture of Count Orlok in a horror magazine when he was a kid. Lender chose to call the character Nosferatu instead of his real name Count Orlok because the movie title was more recognizable and sounded funnier when the voice actors said it. The image came directly from the 1922 German film, with the art team adding a smile to match the storyboard. The Nosferatu cameo works on many levels. For kids, it solves the mystery while adding genuine spooky atmosphere. For adults who know classic horror movies, it's a surprising crossover that seems impossible until it happens. For movie fans, it introduces one of cinema's most important early films. The impact has been huge. Many people first learned about classic German horror cinema through this SpongeBob episode. Director Robert Eggers, who made a new Nosferatu movie in 2024, specifically said the SpongeBob episode introduced Count Orlok to younger audiences who might never have seen the original film otherwise. The scene became a cultural phenomenon, referenced across social media and inspiring countless memes. Its popularity shows how SpongeBob could successfully introduce high art to kids without losing the humor that made it fun. The episode proves children's shows can be educational and culturally enriching without being preachy. After this success, Nosferatu became a recurring character in later episodes and spin-offs, appearing as Kid Feratu in the prequel series and taking various roles throughout the franchise. This shows how a one-joke cameo became a permanent part of the SpongeBob universe. Rockstar royalty: David Bowie's Underwater Kingdom. The 2007 TV movie Atlantis SquarePantis featured one of music's biggest legends, David Bowie as Lord Royal Highness, the Emperor of the Lost City of Atlantis. This casting was both exciting and disappointing, showing how the series could attract major stars while also revealing the challenges of putting celebrities into cartoon worlds. David Bowie got involved because his kids liked SpongeBob, not because of typical Hollywood business. Voice actor Tom Kenny explained that their small TV budget could never afford to pay Bowie what he deserved, but the fact he wants to be in something his kid likes is what gets the ball rolling. Bowie wrote on his blog that he was thrilled to be part of the show, saying he had hit the holy grail of animation gigs. Lord Royal Highness appears as a blue-skinned underwater ruler with features that reference Bowie's famous look. The character has orange hair like Bowie wore in the 1970 seconds and 1990 seconds, plus one green eye and one blue eye. This eye detail references a myth about Bowie having different colored eyes, though in reality, he had an eye injury from a teenage fight that made one pupil permanently larger. The character design also resembles the blue meanies from the Beatles' Yellow Submarine movie. The episode follows SpongeBob and Patrick discovering half of an ancient medallion that, combined with the other half in a museum, takes them and their friends to Atlantis. Lord Royal Highness welcomes them as a friendly host, giving them a tour of his underwater kingdom's treasures, a money room that amazes Mr. Explain, crabs, a science lab that fascinates Sandy, and an art gallery that captivates Squidward. The main plot involves Atlantis' most precious item, the world's oldest living bubble. When Patrick accidentally pops it while taking a photo, Lord Royal Highness reveals it was just a fake for tourists and shows them the real oldest bubble. Patrick immediately pops the real one with another camera flash, turning the friendly emperor into an angry enemy who orders his guards to capture the visitors. Lord Royal Highness reflects Bowie's artistic ideas. When Squidward tries to define art during their tour, the emperor corrects him. Art is what happens when you learn to dream. This line might be the wisest thing ever said in a SpongeBob episode and captures both Bowie's creative philosophy and the show's occasional moments of unexpected depth. The episode being a musical seemed perfect for featuring Bowie's legendary singing voice, but surprisingly, he never sings a single line. Story editor Casey Alexander said Bowie was hired too late for writers to create songs for his character. This was one of the episode's biggest missed opportunities, since viewers expected to hear one of music's greatest stars perform in the SpongeBob universe. The character balances royal politeness with hidden instability. Lord Royal Highness stays positive and gracious until his precious bubble gets destroyed, then becomes violently angry and vengeful. This change from kind ruler to dangerous enemy provides the episode's main conflict. Despite Bowie's fame, Atlantis SquarePantis got mixed reviews from critics who thought the episode tried to do too much, but didn't deliver. Many felt the songs were forgettable, and the story didn't make good use of its legendary guest star. However, 9.22 million people watched it when it first aired, making it the most watched episode in series history and proving celebrity casting could generate huge audience interest. The collaboration continued beyond the TV episode. A version of Bowie's 1995 song No Control was later used in the SpongeBob Broadway musical, creating a lasting connection between the musician and the animated series. Lord Royal Highness appears in SpongeBob video games and merchandise, with voice actor Nolan North taking over after Bowie died in 2016. The character's continued presence shows how successful celebrity appearances can become permanent parts of animated worlds. The impact of special characters. These special characters, aging superheroes, horror movie icons, and music legends, show SpongeBob's commitment to treating viewers with intelligence and respect. They work because they're not just gimmicks or promotional stunts. Instead, they become real parts of the show's world, each bringing something unique while fitting naturally into Bikini Bottom's strange but welcoming community. The success of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy proved that classic TV stars could find new audiences in animation. The Nosferatu cameo demonstrated how children's shows could introduce high culture without losing their sense of fun. David Bowie's appearance showed that even the biggest celebrities could be drawn to quality children's entertainment. Together, these characters represent SpongeBob SquarePants at its most creative and ambitious, is willing to take risks and surprise audiences while never forgetting that the most important thing is making people laugh and feel good about the world. Summary: SpongeBob SquarePants expanded its world with unforgettable special characters that brought together different genres and generations in surprising ways. Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy served as brilliant Golden Age superhero parodies, voiced by comedy legends Ernest Borgnine and Tim Conway. These aging heroes living in a retirement home explored themes of celebrity, aging, and hero worship while maintaining genuine superhero adventures. Their episodes balanced comic book action with realistic portrayals of elderly characters, creating multi-layered entertainment that worked for both kids and adults. When both actors passed away, the show respectfully retired the characters rather than recasting them. Graveyard Shift and the Nosferatu scene created one of SpongeBob's most legendary moments. When Squidward's made-up ghost story seemed to come true during the Krusty Krab's first night shift, the episode built genuine suspense before revealing that Count Orlok from the 1922 silent film Nosferatu was simply playing with the light switch. Writer Jay Lender added this as a last-minute replacement for a cut character, creating an absurd cross-media moment that introduced classic German horror cinema to an entire generation of children. Atlantis SquarePantis, featuring David Bowie as Lord Royal Highness, represented both triumph and missed opportunity. The music legend voiced the blue-skinned Emperor of Atlantis because his kids loved SpongeBob, bringing genuine star power to the series. Though the episode became the most watched in series history with 9.22 million viewers, Bowie ironically never sang due to late casting, and critics found the musical special underwhelming despite its celebrity appeal. These characters demonstrate SpongeBob's willingness to take creative risks while treating its audience with intelligence, proving that children's entertainment could successfully blend high culture, classic television, and contemporary celebrity while maintaining its core humor and heart. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to character deep cuts people forget. Even the most dedicated SpongeBob fans sometimes miss important details about the main characters. These facts go beyond simple trivia to reveal deeper layers of world building and character development that show how much thought Stephen Hillenburg and the writers put into creating Bikini Bottom's residents. From biological mix-ups to homesickness to military service, these character details add richness to what might otherwise be simple cartoon personalities. The Squidward mix-up. He's actually an octopus. One of the most surprising facts about SpongeBob SquarePants is that Squidward Tentacles, despite his name, is actually an octopus, not a squid. This revelation has shocked fans for years and represents one of the show's biggest naming mistakes or perhaps its most clever trick. Series creator Stephen Hillenburg confirmed this biological fact multiple times in interviews and DVD commentary. He specifically designed Squidward as an octopus because he liked the species' large, bulbous head, which he felt made the character look intellectual. As Hillenburg explained, octopuses have such a large, bulbous head, and Squidward thinks he's an intellectual, so of course, he's going to have a large, bulbous head. The confusion comes from Squidward's name, which clearly references squids rather than octopuses. Hillenburg chose the name Squidward by combining squid with Edward, even though he knew the character was an octopus. Voice actor Roger Bumpass later explained that alternative names like Octward simply didn't work as well. The name needed to sound natural and memorable, and Squidward achieved that goal even if it wasn't scientifically accurate. The visual design supports Hillenburg's octopus intention. Squidward has the rounded head typical of octopuses rather than the pointed mantle that characterizes squids. However, for animation simplicity, Hillenburg drew Squidward with only 6 tentacles instead of the 8 that real octopuses possess. He explained that it was just simpler for animation to draw him with 6 legs instead of 8. Only 2 episodes in the entire series show Squidward with his full complement of 8 tentacles. The live-action sequence in Pressure and briefly in Sold. This octopus identity explains several of Squidward's behaviors and abilities throughout the series. Octopuses are known for their intelligence, which matches Squidward's pretentious intellectual attitude. They're also solitary creatures, fitting Squidward's antisocial personality and preference for alone time. The creators even considered having Squidward eject ink when frustrated, but Hillenburg decided against it because it always looks like he's pooping his pants. The squid versus octopus debate became so widespread that it regularly surfaces in online discussions and memes. Many fans refuse to believe the creator's own statements, insisting that the name must indicate the character's true species. However, Hillenburg's marine biology background makes his scientific classification more trustworthy than the character's misleading name. This naming choice reflects the show's playful approach to marine biology. While SpongeBob SquarePants draws from real ocean life, it prioritizes humor and storytelling over scientific accuracy. The creators felt free to bend biological rules when it served the story or made characters more appealing to audiences. Squidward's octopus identity also connects to broader themes about identity and belonging in the series. Just as Squidward doesn't quite fit his own name, he doesn't quite fit into Bikini Bottom society. He's stuck between his artistic pretensions and his mundane reality, much like he's stuck between his squid name and his octopus biology. The revelation shows how even seemingly simple cartoon characters can contain layers of meaning and backstory that aren't immediately obvious. It also demonstrates the importance of creator intent over surface-level interpretation. Sometimes the most important details about fictional characters come not from what we see on screen, but from what the creators reveal in interviews and commentary. Sandy's Texas roots, homesickness, and life support systems. Sandy Cheeks' character goes far deeper than her obvious Texas accent and cowboy boots. The early episodes of SpongeBob SquarePants establish detailed backstory about her complicated relationship with her home state and the technological challenges of living underwater. These elements add emotional depth to what could have been a one-note regional stereotype. Sandy's tree dome represents one of the show's most ingenious solutions to a biological impossibility. As a land mammal living at the bottom of the ocean, she requires a completely artificial environment to survive. Her glass dome home contains air instead of water, making it the only location in Bikini Bottom where land creatures can breathe normally. The tree dome was built for her by NASA, according to series lore, establishing her as a legitimate scientist with important institutional backing. The complexity of Sandy's life support system becomes clear when other characters visit her home. Sea creatures like SpongeBob and Patrick must wear special water-filled helmets that work opposite to Sandy's air-filled diving suit. This creates comedy while highlighting the genuine challenges of cross-species friendship in an underwater world. The tree dome also changes with the seasons, featuring snow and bare trees during winter hibernation periods. Sandy's homesickness provides some of the series' most emotional moments. The first season episode, Texas, reveals the depth of her attachment to her home state when she becomes so homesick that she considers leaving Bikini Bottom permanently. She sings about missing wide-open skies, her 20 acres of land, barbecues, and pecan pies. The specific details she mentions open landscapes and family land suggest rural Texas rather than urban Houston, despite fan theories about her city origins. Her homesickness manifests in both touching and fierce ways. When SpongeBob and Patrick try to cheer her up by creating their own version of Texas, their misguided interpretations only make her sadder. However, when they begin insulting Texas to lure her to a surprise party, Sandy's protective rage toward her home state becomes genuinely frightening. She chases them with a lasso while shouting threats like, "You've been messing with the bull, now here come the horns." The episode shows that Sandy's Texas identity goes beyond simple regional pride to represent deep personal connections to family, landscape, and culture. Her decision to stay in Bikini Bottom after seeing her friend's surprise party suggests that she's building a new home without abandoning her original one. This balance between old and new homes reflects the immigrant experience that many viewers can relate to. Sandy's scientific work adds another layer to her character development. She came to Bikini Bottom to study underwater life while working for Tree Dome Enterprises, making her both a researcher and a research subject herself. Her inventions range from practical survival tools to elaborate experiments, showing genuine scientific curiosity alongside her Texas toughness. The early episodes also establish Sandy's competitive nature and physical capabilities. She excels at karate, bodybuilding, and extreme sports, making her one of the physically strongest characters in the series. However, her competitive drive sometimes creates problems, as seen in episodes where she harms friends or destroys environments in pursuit of victory. Sandy's relationship with hibernation adds biological realism to her character. During winter episodes, she becomes a large, monstrous version of herself due to the fat reserves animals need to survive hibernation. This transformation terrifies SpongeBob and Patrick while accurately reflecting real animal behavior. Her Texas background influences her speech patterns, values, and worldview throughout the series. She frequently uses Southern expressions, makes comparisons to Texas culture, and approaches problems with frontier-style directness. These traits make her distinct from other characters while avoiding offensive stereotypes through her genuine intelligence and scientific expertise. Sandy's character demonstrates how seemingly simple regional characters can represent complex themes about home, identity, and adaptation. Her presence in Bikini Bottom raises questions about belonging, scientific ethics, and the challenges of maintaining cultural identity in new environments. These deeper themes emerge naturally from her basic setup as a Texas squirrel living underwater. Mr. Krabs' military past, from Navy hero to restaurant owner. Eugene Krabs' naval background provides crucial context for understanding his personality, relationships, and business practices. While many fans know he's obsessed with money, fewer remember that he's a military veteran whose service shaped his leadership style and personal identity. The fourth season episode Shell of a Man reveals the most detail about this hidden aspect of his character. Mr. Krabs' Navy service earned him the nickname Armor Abs Krabs due to his incredibly tough exoskeleton. The shell was so hard that anyone could punch it without causing damage. SpongeBob's entire arm disintegrates when he tries to test Mr. Krabs' legendary abdominal strength. This physical toughness became part of his military reputation and personal pride. His Navy memorabilia reveals the extent of his service and achievements. He keeps a treasure chest filled with military items, including his first tattoo, a manly toughness trophy, and photographs of his naval squadron. These items represent a part of his life that predates his business obsessions and shows a time when he valued honor and camaraderie over profit. The photographs reveal Mr. Krabs' Navy buddies, each with distinctive nicknames reflecting their military specialties or injuries. Ol' Iron Eye, Mutton Chop, Torpedo Belly, and Lockjaw Jones. These names suggest a rough military culture where physical toughness and battle scars became badges of honor. The fact that Mr. Krabs maintained friendships with these men shows a loyal social side of his personality that contrasts with his later business ruthlessness. Mr. Krabs' military background explains many of his management practices at the Krusty Krab. He runs the restaurant like a naval operation, with clear hierarchies, strict discipline, and emphasis on efficiency. His frequent use of nautical terms and military time reflects habits formed during his service years. He treats SpongeBob and Squidward like subordinates in his command rather than simply employees. The Shell of a Man episode explores how aging affects military veterans. When Mr. Krabs molts his shell before the Navy reunion, he loses the armor abs that defined his military identity. His shame about appearing pink and soft and unmanly reflects real concerns that aging veterans face about maintaining their tough image and connection to their service identity. The Navy reunion reveals that all of Mr. Krabs' military friends have also changed since their service days. Torpedo Belly had his torpedoes surgically removed, Mutton Chop's sideburns are fake, Lockjaw Jones wears dentures, and Ol' Iron Eye's iron eye is made of formica rather than actual metal. These revelations show that everyone struggles with aging and the gap between their past and present selves. Mr. Krabs' willingness to admit his vulnerability ultimately earns him respect from his Navy buddies. They award him the Trophy of Manly Toughness for having the courage to reveal his molted condition, suggesting that true strength comes from honesty rather than physical toughness. This lesson reflects mature themes about masculinity and aging that go beyond typical children's cartoon content. The military background also provides context for Mr. Krabs' post-service depression. The Krusty Krab training video mentions that he suffered from depression after the war before discovering entrepreneurship as a new purpose. This detail suggests that his money obsession might partly stem from needing financial security after experiencing military trauma and displacement. The timeline of Mr. Krabs' service has led to fan speculation about which historical conflicts he might have experienced. Given his birth year and military age, some fans theorize he served during the Vietnam War era, though the show never explicitly identifies specific conflicts. The series treats his military background as generic naval service, rather than connecting it to real historical events. Mr. Krabs' relationship with authority figures and chain of command throughout the series reflects his military training. He shows automatic respect for official titles and procedures while expecting similar respect for his own authority. His leadership style combines naval discipline with business pragmatism, creating the unique culture of the Krusty Krab workplace. The contrast between Mr. Krabs' military honor and his business practices creates internal tension in his character. While he values loyalty, courage, and tradition from his naval days, his restaurant ownership has made him greedy and sometimes dishonest. This tension suggests that civilian life has corrupted some of his military values while preserving others. The deeper layers of Bikini Bottom. These character details demonstrate that SpongeBob SquarePants operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Surface-level viewers see simple cartoon characters with obvious traits, but closer examination reveals complex backstories that add emotional weight to comedy situations. Squidward's species confusion reflects themes about identity and belonging. Sandy's homesickness explores immigration and cultural adaptation. Krabs' military service connects to issues of aging, honor, and life transitions. The creator's decision to include these deeper character elements shows respect for their audience's intelligence. They understood that children could enjoy the surface comedy, while adults could appreciate more sophisticated storytelling. These hidden details reward careful viewers and provide material for ongoing discussion and analysis. The fact that many fans forget or overlook these character elements speaks to the show's density of content. Each episode contains enough detail and development that important character information can get lost in the wealth of material. This richness has helped SpongeBob SquarePants maintain relevance and rewatch value across multiple generations of viewers. These deep-cut character details also reveal the creator's commitment to internal consistency and world-building. Rather than treating characters as simple comedy devices, they developed full personalities with histories, motivations, and emotional needs. This attention to character development helps explain why SpongeBob SquarePants has endured as both entertainment and cultural phenomenon. Understanding these forgotten character elements enhances appreciation for the series' craftsmanship and ambition. SpongeBob SquarePants succeeded not just as a silly cartoon, but as a genuine work of character-driven storytelling that happened to be set in an underwater world with talking sea creatures. SpongeBob SquarePants contains surprising character details that even dedicated fans often overlook, revealing deeper layers of storytelling and world-building. Squidward is actually an octopus, not a squid despite his misleading name. Creator Steven Hillenburg confirmed this in multiple interviews, explaining he chose octopuses for their large, bulbous heads that made Squidward look intellectual. He named him Squidward, combining squid plus Edward, because alternatives like Octord didn't sound right. For animation simplicity, Squidward normally appears with 6 tentacles instead of 8, though 2 episodes show his full set. His octopus biology explains his intelligence and solitary nature. Sandy Cheeks' Texas connection goes far beyond her accent. Early episodes establish her deep homesickness and the complexity of her underwater life support system. Her tree dome was built by NASA and requires special water helmets for visiting sea creatures. In Texas, Sandy becomes so homesick she nearly leaves Bikini Bottom, singing about missing her 20 acres of land, barbecues, and pecan pies. She originally came underwater to study sea life for Tree Dome Enterprises, making her both researcher and research subject. Mr. Krabs' Navy past reveals a military veteran background often forgotten by fans. In Shell of a Man, he prepares for a naval reunion with his old squadron buddies, Iron Eye, Mutton Chop, Torpedo Belly, and Lockjaw Jones. His military nickname was Armor Abs Krabs due to his incredibly tough shell. When he molts before the reunion, he feels ashamed of appearing weak, but ultimately wins a trophy for honesty when his Navy friends reveal they've all changed too. Fake sideburrs, removed torpedoes, dentures, etc. These details show how SpongeBob operates on multiple levels, rewarding careful viewers with rich character development that goes far beyond simple cartoon comedy. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to Patchy the Pirate and the Meta Layer. Patchy the Pirate and the Meta Layer. SpongeBob SquarePants broke television conventions by creating its own built-in fan character and host who exists outside the underwater world of Bikini Bottom. Patchy the Pirate represents one of the most clever meta-television concepts ever created for a children's show, serving as both a framing device for special episodes and a commentary on fandom itself. His presence, along with groundbreaking interactive television experiments like Shanghai, shows how SpongeBob pushed the boundaries of what animated series could do on television. The ultimate fan avatar, Patchy's role in SpongeBob. Patchy the Pirate made his debut in the December 2000 episode Christmas Who as the self-appointed president of the SpongeBob SquarePants fan club. Played by Tom Kenny, who also voices SpongeBob himself, Patchy lives in a suburban house in Encino, California, surrounded by SpongeBob merchandise and pirate-themed decorations. His existence creates a bridge between the fictional underwater world and the real world of SpongeBob fans watching at home. The genius of Patchy lies in how he functions as a perfect fan avatar. He represents every devoted viewer who has ever gotten excited about their favorite show, collected merchandise, and wanted to share their enthusiasm with others. Patchy's house overflows with SpongeBob plush toys, collectibles, bedspreads, and pillows, making him the ultimate superfan who has built his entire identity around his love for the series. Tom Kenny designed Patchy as more of a suburban guy than an actual pirate, explaining that the only thing that makes him a pirate is that he says he's one and dresses like one. This approach makes Patchy relatable rather than intimidating. He wears typical pirate accessories like an eye patch, hook hand, and pirate hat, but he lives in a normal neighborhood and deals with everyday problems that viewers can understand. Patchy's relationship with his pet parrot, Potty the Parrot, adds another layer of comedy and relatability. Potty serves as the sarcastic voice of reason who often disagrees with Patchy's enthusiastic plans. Their arguments mirror the kind of friendly debates that fans have about their favorite shows, with Potty representing the more critical viewer while Patchy embodies pure, uncritical love for SpongeBob. The character was specifically added to the show in Season 2 to help fill longer special episodes. Creator Steven Hillenburg wanted Tom Kenny to play Patchy so that the main character of both the animated and live-action segments would be played by the same person. This connection reinforces the meta concept that Patchy and SpongeBob are linked in ways that go beyond simple fandom. Patchy's segments are deliberately designed with low production values that parody children's shows on local television stations. His eye patch constantly switches between eyes, his hook changes hands, and his lip syncing is intentionally poor. These choices create humor while making gentle fun of cheaply produced children's programming. The creators chose Encino as his hometown specifically because they wanted somewhere that looked like a pirate would never live, creating a funny contrast between his pirate persona and suburban reality. The intentionally amateurish quality of Patchy's segments serves multiple purposes. It makes the character endearing rather than polished, suggesting that his love for SpongeBob is more important than professional presentation. It also creates a nostalgic feeling for viewers who remember watching low-budget local children's shows, adding another layer of meta-commentary about television history. Patchy appears primarily in special episodes in television movies, serving as a host who introduces and comments on the main SpongeBob stories. His presence signals to viewers that they're about to see something special and different from regular episodes. This framing device helps create anticipation and makes certain episodes feel like events rather than simple cartoons. The character has evolved over the years while maintaining his core identity as SpongeBob's biggest fan. He's appeared in various forms across different media, including animated segments, video games, and even live appearances at events like the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. His continued popularity demonstrates how well the creators understood the psychology of fandom and created a character who embodies the best aspects of being a devoted fan. The Interactive Revolution, Shanghaied, and its alternate endings. The March 2001 special You Wish featuring the episode Shanghaied represents one of television's most innovative uses of interactive technology and alternate storytelling. This groundbreaking experiment allowed viewers to vote by telephone or online for different endings to the same SpongeBob episode, creating multiple versions of the same story and pioneering concepts that would later become common in digital media. The episode itself follows SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward as they encounter the Flying Dutchman, a ghostly pirate who forces them to serve as his crew for eternity. When their poor performance as crew members leads the Flying Dutchman to consider eating them instead, he offers to grant one final wish before their doom. The identity of who gets this wish became the subject of the unprecedented viewer vote. Nickelodeon promoted the special extensively, encouraging viewers to call a 1 to 800 number or visit their website to vote for whether SpongeBob, Patrick, or Squidward should receive the Flying Dutchman's wish. This interactive element transformed a passive viewing experience into active participation, making audiences feel like they had genuine control over the story's outcome. The three alternate endings showcased completely different approaches to wish-making and consequences. In SpongeBob's ending, which won the vote, he wishes that the Flying Dutchman were a vegetarian. This transforms the ghostly pirate into a hippie-like character and turns his ship into a psychedelic van, but SpongeBob, Patrick, and Squidward are transformed into fruit, and the vegetarian Dutchman continues chasing them as food. Patrick's ending, had it won, would have shown him wishing for gum that never loses its flavor. This seemingly innocent wish backfires spectacularly as the three characters end up being eaten by the Flying Dutchman anyway, demonstrating Patrick's characteristic lack of strategic thinking, even in life-or-death situations. Squidward's ending reveals his character priorities through his wish that he had never met SpongeBob and Patrick. However, this wish also backfires as the magical reset means Squidward must meet them again for the first time, and they still end up being eaten. This ending reflects Squidward's ongoing frustration with his neighbors while showing that his problems might be unavoidable. Patchy the Pirate hosted the voting process from his phone-filled house, surrounded by hundreds of telephones that reflected the interactive nature of the special. His segments explained the voting process and built excitement for the results, making him an essential part of the television event rather than just a framing device. The technical execution of You Wish required careful planning and multiple versions of the same content. The creators had to produce all three endings, plus different Patchy segments that would work with each possible outcome. They also needed to coordinate with Nickelodeon's telephone and web systems to collect and tabulate votes in real time during the broadcast. SpongeBob's ending won the viewer vote and became the official version shown in all subsequent broadcasts. However, the other endings were preserved and later released on DVD collections, allowing fans to see the alternate versions that might have been. This created a unique piece of media history where multiple official versions of the same story exist. The original You Wish broadcast has become something of a lost media curiosity. The complete version, with all voting elements intact, was included on the First 100 Episodes DVD collection in 2009, but with the original phone numbers censored for obvious reasons. Most television reruns show an edited version that removes references to the voting and simply presents SpongeBob's ending as the canonical story. The success of Shanghaied demonstrated audience hunger for interactive content years before social media and streaming platforms made such participation common. It showed that viewers wanted to feel involved in their favorite shows rather than simply watching passively. This experiment helped pave the way for later interactive media, from reality show voting to choose-your-own adventure streaming content. The episode also highlighted the challenges of interactive television. Creating multiple storylines required significantly more production time and resources. Coordinating real-time voting during broadcast created technical complications. Most importantly, the experiment revealed that most viewers still preferred having one definitive version of a story rather than multiple alternatives. The alternate endings of Shanghai have gained cult status among SpongeBob fans, with many seeking out the rare footage of Patrick and Squidward's endings. The complete versions represent a unique moment in television history when a children's cartoon pushed the boundaries of what the medium could accomplish. The meta-commentary on television and fandom. Both Patchy the Pirate and the Shanghai experiment represent sophisticated meta-commentary on television, fandom, and audience participation. These elements show how SpongeBob SquarePants operated on multiple levels simultaneously, entertaining children with surface-level comedy while offering deeper insights about media consumption and fan culture. Patchy functions as a commentary on the nature of fandom itself. His extreme devotion to SpongeBob, complete with themed merchandise and lifestyle choices, reflects how fans can build their identities around their favorite media. However, the character never mocks this devotion. Instead, Patchy's enthusiasm is presented as genuine and admirable, suggesting that passionate fandom is something to celebrate rather than ridicule. The deliberately low production values of Patchy's segments comment on the history of children's television. By recreating the aesthetic of local access children's shows, the creators acknowledge their debt to earlier forms of television while gently parodying their limitations. This approach shows respect for television history while demonstrating how far production values have advanced. The interactive elements of Shanghai comment on audience expectations and the nature of storytelling itself. By offering viewers control over the story's outcome, the creators question traditional assumptions about passive media consumption. The experiment asked whether audiences truly wanted narrative control or if they preferred the expertise of professional storytellers. The fact that all three endings of Shanghai result in the characters being eaten by the Flying Dutchman suggests a meta-commentary on the illusion of choice in media. Despite appearing to offer meaningful alternatives, the different endings lead to essentially the same fate, implying that audience participation might be more symbolic than substantial. Patchy's role as a bridge between the real and fictional worlds creates unique storytelling opportunities. His segments can reference real-world events, television production, and fan culture in ways that the underwater SpongeBob segments cannot. This flexibility allows the show to comment on itself and the television industry while maintaining the fantasy world of Bikini Bottom. The meta elements also demonstrate the creators' respect for their audience's intelligence. Rather than talking down to viewers, Patchy's segments assume that audiences can understand and appreciate jokes about television production, fan behavior, and media history. This approach helps SpongeBob appeal to multiple age groups simultaneously. The legacy of SpongeBob's meta-innovations. The meta-television elements pioneered by SpongeBob SquarePants influenced how animated series approach audience engagement and self-reference. Patchy the Pirate established a template for fan avatar characters that other shows have since adopted, while the Shanghai experiment demonstrated the potential for interactive storytelling that would later flourish in digital media. Modern streaming platforms regularly offer interactive content that allows viewers to choose story outcomes, following the path that SpongeBob pioneered in 2001. Social media has made real-time audience participation standard for television events, fulfilling the promise of engagement that You Wish first demonstrated. Patchy's continued appearances in SpongeBob specials show that the meta-television concept remains effective and popular with audiences. His presence has become a signal that viewers are about to experience something special and different, maintaining the excitement and anticipation that made his original appearances successful. The preservation of Shanghai's alternate endings on DVD collections demonstrates the historical importance of these television experiments. These materials serve as artifacts of an era when television was becoming more interactive and participatory, documenting the medium's evolution toward greater audience engagement. Together, Patchy the Pirate and the Shanghai experiment represent SpongeBob SquarePants at its most innovative and ambitious. They show how a children's cartoon could push television boundaries while remaining entertaining and accessible. These meta-elements prove that the best children's programming respects its audience's intelligence and creativity, offering layers of meaning that reward careful attention and repeated viewing. SpongeBob SquarePants created groundbreaking meta-television elements that pushed the boundaries of children's programming, featuring both a built-in fan avatar and revolutionary interactive storytelling. Patchy the Pirate serves as the ultimate fan avatar, debuting in Christmas Who, December 2000, as the self-appointed president of the SpongeBob fan club. Played by Tom Kenny, SpongeBob's voice actor, Patchy lives in suburban Encino, California, surrounded by SpongeBob merchandise. He represents every devoted fan who builds their identity around their favorite show. His segments intentionally feature low production values that parody local access children's television, DHEP, His eye patch switches sides, his hook changes hands, and his lip syncing is deliberately poor. Patchy hosts special episodes and serves as a bridge between the fictional underwater world and real viewers. Shanghai pioneered interactive television with its original March 2001 broadcast as You Wish. Viewers could call a 1 to 800 number or go online to vote for which character, SpongeBob, Patrick, or Squidward, would get the Flying Dutchman's final wish, determining the episode's ending. SpongeBob's ending won, where he wishes the Flying Dutchman becomes vegetarian, but all three characters turn into fruit and get chased anyway. Patrick's alternate ending had him wishing for eternal gum before being eaten, while Squidward's ending showed him wishing he'd never met his neighbors, only to meet them again and still get eaten. The complete original version with voting segments is preserved on the first 100 episodes DVD, though most reruns show edited versions. These meta-elements demonstrate SpongeBob's sophisticated commentary on fandom, television production, and audience participation, influencing later interactive media, and showing how children's programming could operate on multiple intellectual levels simultaneously. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to banned or pulled segments and why that happened. Banned or pulled SpongeBob segments and why that happened. SpongeBob SquarePants seems like the most innocent show in the world. A happy yellow sponge living in a pineapple under the sea, making burgers and catching jellyfish with his best friend Patrick. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, even Bikini Bottom has its dark secrets. Over the years, several SpongeBob episodes have been banned, pulled from TV, or heavily edited because they crossed lines that nobody expected a kids' show to cross. The panty raid that ended an era. The most famous banned SpongeBob episode is Midlife Crustacean from Season 3. This episode aired back in 2003 and was a fan favorite for nearly 15 years. The story seemed harmless enough at first. Mr. Krabs was feeling old and boring, complaining that he was out of touch with young people. Pearl called him old, customers made jokes about his age, and poor Mr. Krabs felt like his best days were behind him. SpongeBob and Patrick wanted to help their boss feel young again, so they invited him on a night out to experience what they called the nightlife. Mr. Krabs was excited, imagining wild parties and exciting adventures. Instead, the two took him to incredibly boring activities like watching washing machines spin at the laundromat, going to the dentist for fun, and playing simple children's games. Mr. Krabs grew more frustrated with each stop. This wasn't making him feel young and cool at all. He was ready to give up and go home when Patrick mentioned the final activity of their evening, a panty raid. Suddenly, Mr. Krabs perked up. This sounded rebellious and exciting, exactly what he needed to feel young again. The three characters broke into a house in the middle of the night to steal women's underwear from their dresser drawers. Mr. Krabs felt like a young troublemaker again, finally experiencing the thrill he'd been looking for. The big twist came when they turned on the lights and discovered they had been raiding the underwear drawer of Mr. Krabs' own mother. She caught them in the act and grounded Mr. Krabs for the rest of the night, sending him to his childhood bedroom. For years, this episode aired regularly on Nickelodeon without major complaints. The term panty raid was a reference to college pranks from the 1,940 seconds and 1,960 seconds that most kids watching didn't understand anyway. They laughed at the silly situation without grasping what was actually happening. The episode also contained one of the most memorable lines in SpongeBob history. "Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?" Everything changed in 2018 when Nickelodeon conducted a standards review of their older content. The network realized that showing three male characters breaking into a woman's home to steal her underwear was sending the wrong message to children, even in a cartoon. The episode was quietly pulled from TV rotation and later removed from streaming services. In 2021, when SpongeBob moved to Paramount+, Midlife Crustacean was completely excluded from the platform. The episode remains the only SpongeBob episode that has been permanently banned from American television. Fans were devastated, knowing that an entire generation would grow up without understanding the classic reference, "Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?" The episode can still be found on older DVD collections and can be purchased individually on some digital platforms, but it will never air on television again in the United States. Interestingly, the episode did briefly return to streaming in 2023 due to what Paramount called a technical error, but was quickly removed again within hours. When a pandemic hit too close to home, Quarantined Crab from Season 12 became the second SpongeBob episode to face a major ban, though this one was due to unfortunate timing rather than inappropriate content. The episode was originally scheduled to air in 2020, but the real world had other plans. The story began normally enough at the Krusty Krab, with SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and other customers enjoying their meal. Everything changed when a health inspector arrived and started testing people with a strange device. He announced that someone in the restaurant was infected with a highly contagious disease called the clam flu. Nobody knew who was sick, which caused immediate panic among everyone in the restaurant. The health inspector decided to quarantine the entire building until they could figure out who had the flu and how it was spreading. As the lockdown continued, the characters became increasingly paranoid and suspicious of each other. Mr. Krabs made the situation worse by throwing people he suspected of being sick into the restaurant's freezer. The characters turned on each other, with friends becoming enemies as fear took over. Some tried to escape while others demanded stricter quarantine measures. The episode showed how quickly a community could fall apart when faced with an unknown disease. The problem was that this episode was written and animated in 2019, a full year before COVID. 19 changed the world. When the real pandemic hit in early 2020, the episode's storyline became uncomfortably similar to what people were experiencing in real life. Nickelodeon made the difficult decision to pull the episode before it could air, citing sensitivities surrounding the global, real-world pandemic. The episode hit too many real-world triggers. The quarantine, the fear of unknown diseases, people being isolated and turned against each other, the paranoia about who might be infected, and all mirrored what viewers were living through every day. Watching SpongeBob characters go through the same struggles that real families were experiencing felt inappropriate and insensitive. Unlike Midlife Crustacean, this ban was always intended to be temporary. In April 2022, nearly 2 years after it was supposed to air, Quarantined Crab finally made it to television. By then, the worst of the pandemic had passed, and people were ready to laugh at a fictional virus storyline again. The episode is now available on Paramount Plus and airs normally on Nickelodeon. The security system that was too dangerous. One of the most infamous moments in SpongeBob history isn't a banned episode, but a banned scene. Just One Bite from Season 3 originally contained a sequence that was so dangerous, Nickelodeon removed it after just a few airings. The episode followed Squidward's first experience eating a Krabby Patty. After years of working at the Krusty Krab, he had never actually tried one of the burgers. SpongeBob finally convinced him to take a bite, and Squidward discovered that Krabby Patties were absolutely delicious. In fact, they were so good that he became completely obsessed with them. Late that night, Squidward snuck back to the Krusty Krab to steal more Krabby Patties from the vault where they were stored. Mr. Krabs had installed a security system to keep burglars like Plankton from breaking in. The original version of the episode showed Squidward discovering this security system in the most painful way possible. As Squidward approached the restaurant's entrance, he noticed a bucket hanging above the door. He assumed it was filled with water and laughed at how simple Mr. Krabs' security system was. When he opened the door, the bucket spilled all over him. But when he smelled the liquid, he realized it wasn't water at all, it was gasoline. Immediately, a robotic hand emerged from the wall and dropped a lit match. Squidward burst into flames and screamed in agony as he ran around on fire. But his obsession with Krabby Patties was stronger than his pain, so he continued into the kitchen. The exact same thing happened again. Another bucket of gasoline, another match, and Squidward was set on fire for a second time. The scene was only about 40 seconds long, but it was incredibly violent by SpongeBob standards. Viewers saw a main character getting burned alive twice in a row, screaming in pain both times. Nickelodeon initially aired the episode with this scene intact on the 5th of October 2001, but concerns grew quickly. Parents and child psychologists worried that kids might try to recreate the scene using real gasoline and matches. The combination of flammable liquid and fire was exactly the kind of dangerous activity that children were known to imitate from cartoons. After a standards review in 2002, Nickelodeon decided the scene was too risky to keep showing. The edited version cuts directly from Squidward approaching the restaurant to him already inside the Krabby Patty vault, completely removing the security system sequence. This edited version is what airs on television today and appears on all DVD releases and streaming platforms. Interestingly, the original scene still airs in some other countries. Canadian channels like YTV and Nickelodeon Canada continue to show the uncut version, as do channels in South Korea, Serbia, and Bulgaria. American fans have to search online or find bootleg recordings to see what Squidward's painful encounter with Mr. Krabs' security system actually looked like. Vincent Waller, one of SpongeBob's current showrunners, confirmed that the scene was removed because Nickelodeon doesn't tolerate stunts involving igniting gas. The network felt that showing gasoline being ignited as a gag, even in a cartoon, was too dangerous for their young audience. The virus episode that became real. Before Quarantined Crab, there were early concerns about episodes that dealt with diseases or health scares. SpongeBob has had several storylines involving sickness, but most of them were considered harmless because they dealt with obviously fictional conditions or played illness for silly comedy. The show has featured episodes about Squidward catching Squid's disease from SpongeBob, Patrick getting mad snail disease, and various characters coming down with cartoon ailments that clearly don't exist in real life. These episodes continued airing without problems because they were so obviously fictional that no viewer could confuse them with real medical conditions. Quarantined Crab was different because it dealt with the realistic fear of unknown diseases and the social breakdown that can result from quarantine measures. Even though the clam flu was fictional, the characters' reactions, panic, paranoia, isolation, turning against friends, were all too realistic for comfort during an actual pandemic. The episode also showed how quickly rumors and misinformation could spread during a health crisis. Characters started blaming each other without evidence, creating theories about who was really sick, and making decisions based on fear rather than facts. This mirrored the real-world spread of COVID-19 misinformation that was causing serious problems at the time. Why SpongeBob episodes get banned today? The banning of SpongeBob episodes reveals how much children's television has changed over the past 25 years. When the show first started in 1999, networks were less concerned about the subtle messages that cartoons might be sending to kids. Shows were judged primarily on whether they contained obvious inappropriate content like swearing or graphic violence. Modern standards are much stricter. Networks now consider the behavioral examples that characters set, the real-world activities that might be imitated, and the social messages that storylines might communicate to impressionable viewers. Even harmless-seeming activities like breaking into houses or mixing chemicals can be seen as too dangerous for young audiences. The rise of social media has also made networks more cautious. Controversial content spreads faster than ever before, and parent groups can organize boycotts within hours of an episode airing. A single inappropriate scene can generate thousands of angry tweets and news articles, creating public relations nightmares for children's networks. Streaming services have made the situation more complicated. When shows only aired on television, banned episodes would simply disappear from rotation and eventually be forgotten. Now, with shows available on demand through multiple platforms, networks must actively remove content and explain why certain episodes are missing from collections. SpongeBob's banned episodes also show how unpredictable television can be. Midlife Crustacean aired without major controversy for 15 years before being banned. Quarantined Crab was pulled not because of its content, but because a real-world event made fictional storylines feel inappropriate. Just One Bite lost its most memorable scene because of safety concerns that nobody had considered when it first aired. The lost episodes live on. Despite being banned from official platforms, SpongeBob's controversial episodes have found new life online. Fan communities actively preserve and share the forbidden content, often treating banned episodes as special collector's items. The Just One Bite deleted scene has become a popular internet meme, with fans creating remixes and parodies of Squidward's gasoline mishap. The controversy has actually made these episodes more famous than they might have been otherwise. Midlife Crustacean is now one of the most discussed SpongeBob episodes ever, not because of its quality, but because of its banned status. Fans who grew up with the episode share memories of, "Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?" with younger viewers who have no idea what they're referencing. The banning of these episodes also raises questions about how long controversial content should be kept away from audiences. Quarantined Crab returned after 2 years, but Midlife Crustacean may never come back. The Just One Bite scene has been gone for over 20 years with no sign of returning. Some fans argue that removing this content goes too far and that parents should be responsible for deciding what their children watch. Others support the network's decisions, believing that children's television should be held to higher standards than adult programming. The debate continues as streaming platforms face pressure to review more of their older content. SpongeBob's banned episodes remind us that even the most innocent-seeming shows can create unexpected controversies. They show us how cultural attitudes change over time, how real-world events can impact fictional stories, and how the things we find acceptable for children are constantly evolving. The next time you watch SpongeBob SquarePants, remember that somewhere in Nickelodeon's vault, there are episodes and scenes that were deemed too dangerous, inappropriate, or poorly timed for your eyes. These banned segments have become the forbidden fruit of Bikini Bottom, forever locked away but never forgotten by the fans who remember when SpongeBob could still shock the world. Even SpongeBob SquarePants has episodes too controversial for TV. Midlife Crustacean got permanently banned for a panty raid scene. Quarantined Crab was pulled during COVID for being too realistic, and Just One Bite lost a scene where Squidward gets set on fire with gasoline. These bans show how children's TV standards have changed and how real-world events can make cartoon storylines feel inappropriate. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to movies, spin-offs, and timeline placement. What started as a simple cartoon about a sea sponge making burgers has become one of the biggest entertainment franchises in the world. SpongeBob SquarePants now spans multiple movies, spin-off shows, and different timelines that can confuse even the most dedicated fans. Understanding how all these pieces fit together requires diving deep into the expansion of Bikini Bottom, the original movie trilogy. The SpongeBob movie saga began in 2004, when creator Steven Hillenburg finally agreed to bring his characters to the big screen. The SpongeBob SquarePants movie was originally planned as the series finale, showing SpongeBob and Patrick on an epic quest to save Mr. Krabs from King Neptune's wrath. The movie took our heroes to the surface world for the first time, proving they could handle a cinematic adventure. The film was a massive success, earning over $140 million worldwide and keeping SpongeBob alive for many more years. Hillenburg had been hesitant about making a movie, worried about maintaining what he called the SpongeBob cadence in a longer format. He wanted to make sure SpongeBob and Patrick could handle something more cinematically consequential and inspiring without losing their essential characters. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water, arrived 11 years later in 2015, directed by Paul Tibbitt. This sequel took an even bolder approach by combining animation with live-action sequences. When a pirate steals the Krabby Patty formula, SpongeBob and his friends travel to our world to get it back. The movie featured SpongeBob and the gang as superheroes in the real world, with Antonio Banderas playing the villainous pirate Burger Beard. This film proved even more successful than the first, earning over $324 million worldwide. The long gap between movies showed that audiences were still hungry for SpongeBob adventures on the big screen, even after more than a decade. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, completed the trilogy in 2020, though its release was complicated by the COVID-19 pandemic. Originally scheduled for theaters, the movie ended up debuting on Paramount Plus and video on demand instead. This fully computer-animated film followed SpongeBob and Patrick as they rescued Gary the Snail from King Poseidon in the lost city of Atlantic City. The movie was significant for introducing flashback scenes at Camp Coral, showing how SpongeBob and his friends first met as children. These scenes would later inspire an entire spin-off series and create new questions about SpongeBob timeline continuity. The next generation of movies. The success of the original trilogy led to plans for more SpongeBob films, but with a different approach. Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie premiered directly on Netflix in 2024, focusing on Sandy's scientific expertise when all of Bikini Bottom gets scooped out of the ocean. The movie showed Sandy and SpongeBob traveling to Texas to save their underwater home. This marked the beginning of character-focused spin-off movies, with each film highlighting different members of the main cast. Plankton the movie followed in March 2025, showing what happens when Karen the computer decides to take over the world without Plankton's help. The SpongeBob movie, Search for SquarePants, is scheduled for theatrical release on the 19th of December 2025, returning the franchise to the big screen after 5 years. This fourth theatrical film promises to bring back the epic adventure feel of the original movies while incorporating lessons learned from the spin-off projects. Camp Coral, the prequel nobody expected. Camp Coral, SpongeBob's Under Years, premiered on Paramount Plus on the 4th of March 2021, the same day as the Sponge on the Run movie. This computer-animated series showed 10-year-old versions of SpongeBob, Patrick, and Sandy spending their summer at a sleepaway camp in the kelp forest. The series was controversial from the start because it contradicted Stephen Hillenburg's previous statements about not wanting SpongeBob spin-offs. Hillenburg had died in 2018, and many fans felt the network was going against his wishes. However, the show's creators argued that the Camp Coral flashbacks in Sponge on the Run had already established this backstory. Camp Coral featured familiar characters and new roles. Mr. Krabs ran the camp as a single father raising baby Pearl. Mrs. Puff worked as the scoutmaster and arts and crafts teacher. Squidward served as a junior counselor, slightly older than the other campers and already showing his pessimistic personality. Plankton operated a secret laboratory underneath the camp, plotting world domination with Karen's help. The series ran for 2 seasons with 39 episodes total, ending in 2024. While some fans appreciated seeing the characters' childhood friendships develop, others criticized the computer animation and felt it lacked the charm of the original 2D show. The series created its own timeline, separate from the main SpongeBob continuity, allowing for more creative freedom but confusing the overall chronology. The Patrick Star Show, Variety Hour Chaos. The Patrick Star Show debuted on Nickelodeon on the 9th of July 2021, taking an entirely different approach to SpongeBob spin-offs. Instead of being a traditional prequel or sequel, the show presented itself as Patrick hosting his own variety show from his family home. The series introduced Patrick's previously unknown family members, including his parents Cecil and Bunny Star, his grandfather Grandpat, and most importantly, his younger sister Squidina. Squidina, despite being only 8 years old, actually produces Patrick's fake TV show, using her older brother like one of her toys to create the content. This format allowed the writers unprecedented creative freedom. They could break the fourth wall, ignore established continuity, and create surreal storylines that would be impossible in the main SpongeBob series. Episodes could function as talk shows, sitcoms, road trip adventures, or complete abstract experiments depending on what Patrick's imagination conjured up. The show's creators, Mark Ceccarelli and Vincent Waller, admitted they mess with canon a lot and don't respect canon just for the sake of itself. This approach frustrated some longtime fans but opened up new storytelling possibilities that kept the series fresh and unpredictable. The Patrick Star Show has been renewed through Season 5, making it one of Nickelodeon's most successful new series. The variety show format has proven popular with younger audiences who appreciate its randomness and fast-paced humor. Timeline confusion and multiple universes. The expansion of the SpongeBob franchise has created significant timeline confusion. The original SpongeBob series has always been largely episodic, with characters reset to their basic states at the beginning of each episode. This made continuity less important and allowed for more flexible storytelling. However, the movies and spin-offs have introduced linear storytelling elements that don't always mesh together. The 2004 movie was meant to be the series finale, showing SpongeBob finally becoming a manager and Plankton successfully stealing the formula. Yet the TV series continued with SpongeBob back to his regular fry cook job and Plankton still plotting to steal the secret recipe. Camp Coral creates additional problems by showing how the characters met as children, which contradicts episodes from the original series that depicted their first meetings differently. For example, Sandy's origin story changes between tea at the Tree Dome and her Camp Coral appearance. The Patrick Star Show exists in its own universe, where Patrick lives with family members who have never been mentioned in over 20 years of the original series. The show occasionally features other SpongeBob characters, but their relationships and personalities often differ from their main series counterparts. To address this confusion, Nickelodeon has essentially created a SpongeBob multiverse. Each series and movie can exist in its own timeline without worrying about continuity with the others. This allows creative teams maximum flexibility, while giving fans the freedom to choose which versions of the characters they prefer. The business of expansion. The SpongeBob franchise expansion represents a massive business strategy for Nickelodeon and Paramount. The original series generated over $13 billion in merchandising revenue, making it the most profitable property for Paramount consumer products. Expanding the universe with movies and spin-offs creates more content to monetize across multiple platforms. Camp Coral was designed specifically for Paramount Plus as the streaming service's first original animated series. The Patrick Star Show helps fill Nickelodeon's programming schedule while providing content that can also appear on streaming platforms. The spin-off movies give Netflix and other partners exclusive SpongeBob content to attract subscribers. This expansion strategy has increased Nickelodeon Animation Studios' output from 10 productions to nearly 50 inches just 3 years. The studio hired 500 new employees to handle the increased workload, showing how successful the SpongeBob universe has become at generating both content and jobs. Looking forward, the future of Bikini Bottom. The SpongeBob franchise shows no signs of slowing down. The main series continues to air new episodes and has been renewed through multiple future seasons. The upcoming Search for SquarePants movie will test whether theatrical SpongeBob films can still draw big audiences after the streaming success of the spin-off movies. Additional character-focused films are in development, potentially giving major characters like Squidward, Mr. Krabs, or Mrs. Puff their own starring roles. These projects would continue the strategy of expanding the universe while keeping production costs lower than major theatrical releases. The success of the Patrick Star Show has proven that audiences will accept SpongeBob content that breaks traditional formatting rules. This opens the door for even more experimental approaches to the franchise, possibly including live-action series, mockumentaries, or completely new formats that haven't been tried yet. However, the expansion also faces challenges from longtime fans who prefer the original series format. Balancing nostalgia for classic SpongeBob with the need for new content that appeals to modern audiences remains an ongoing struggle for the creative teams. Where everything fits. For fans trying to understand the SpongeBob universe, the simplest approach is to think of each project as its own separate experience. The original SpongeBob SquarePants series remains the core of the franchise, with its episodic format and timeless characters. The movies can be enjoyed as special events that don't necessarily fit into any specific timeline. Each film tells a complete story that can be watched and enjoyed independently of the others. Camp Coral provides a fun look at childhood versions of beloved characters, even if it doesn't perfectly align with the original series continuity. The Patrick Star Show offers a completely different type of humor and storytelling that appeals to viewers who want something more experimental and unpredictable. The beauty of the SpongeBob multiverse is that fans can choose which parts they want to embrace. Some may stick exclusively to the original series, while others might enjoy exploring every corner of the expanded universe. There's no wrong way to experience the world of SpongeBob SquarePants. Summary. SpongeBob has evolved from a single cartoon series into a massive entertainment universe featuring 4 theatrical films, 2004 to 2025, streaming movies, and 2 major spin-offs. Camp Coral shows young SpongeBob at summer camp using CGI animation, while the Patrick Star Show presents Patrick hosting a chaotic variety show with his family. These projects create multiple timelines and universes, allowing creative teams maximum freedom while giving fans different ways to experience Bikini Bottom. The expansion represents a major business strategy that has helped SpongeBob become a $13 billion franchise, spanning multiple platforms and formats. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to music, tone, and the show's Island Exotica vibe. Music, tone, and the show's Island Exotica vibe. There's something magical about SpongeBob SquarePants that goes beyond just the jokes and characters. The moment you hear those steel guitar slides and see those floating flower clouds in the sky, you're transported to a world that feels like a permanent tropical vacation. The show's entire aesthetic is built around what Steven Hillenburg called Island Exotica, a blend of Hawaiian, Tiki, and Polynesian influences that creates one of the most distinctive atmospheres in all of animation. The Hawaiian shirt philosophy. When Steven Hillenburg pitched SpongeBob to Nickelodeon executives, he didn't just bring storyboards and character designs. He showed up wearing a Hawaiian shirt, brought an underwater terrarium with models of the characters, and played Hawaiian music to set the mood. This wasn't just a gimmick, it was the key to understanding everything SpongeBob would become. The executives were blown away by what Nickelodeon's Eric Coleman described as a pretty amazing presentation. They immediately understood that this wasn't going to be just another cartoon. This was going to be an entire world built around the relaxed, carefree spirit of tropical island life, but transplanted to the bottom of the ocean. Hillenburg's vision was influenced by his background as a marine biologist and his love for 1,960 seconds, surf culture, and tiki bar aesthetics. He wanted to create something that felt like you were watching television while lounging at a beachside resort, even if you were sitting in your living room in the middle of winter. Sky flowers, clouds made of dreams. One of the most distinctive visual elements of SpongeBob's world are the sky flowers, those soft, cloud-like blooms that float through nearly every background in Bikini Bottom. When background designer Kenny Pittenger was asked what they actually were, his explanation revealed the show's deeper design philosophy. They function as clouds in a way, but since the show takes place underwater, they aren't really clouds, Pittenger explained. Because of the tiki influence on the show, the background painters use a lot of pattern. He revealed that the sky flowers were specifically designed to evoke the look of a flower print Hawaiian shirt. This brilliant design choice means that every single shot of SpongeBob feels like looking through the pattern of a vintage Hawaiian shirt. The sky flowers drift by in soft blues, pinks, and yellows, creating a hypnotic, dreamlike quality that makes the show perfect for relaxation. It's no wonder that SpongeBob has become popular as background viewing for sleep and stress relief. The entire visual design is built to be calming and pleasant. The sky flowers also serve a practical purpose in animation. They provide visual interest and movement in background shots without being distracting. They're colorful enough to make the world feel alive, but soft enough to never compete with the main action. This creates what animators call living backgrounds that feel organic and breathing rather than static and lifeless. Tiny Tim and the perfect opening song. The most famous piece of music in SpongeBob history almost didn't happen. When Hillenburg and his team were developing the pilot episode Help Wanted, someone sent them a tape with various songs on it. Among those tracks was Tiny Tim's 1,968 cover of Livin' in the Sunlight, Lovin' in the Moonlight, and it immediately captured the exact energy Hillenburg wanted for his show. Tiny Tim's high-pitched, ukulele-accompanied performance of the 1,930-second song felt simultaneously innocent and slightly strange, exactly like SpongeBob himself. The song's upbeat message about finding happiness in simple pleasures perfectly matched the character who could find joy in flipping burgers and catching jellyfish. When it came time to create the pilot episode, the team decided to use this song during SpongeBob's triumphant moment of serving Krabby Patties to a huge crowd of hungry anchovies. The sequence where SpongeBob rapidly creates dozens of perfect burgers while Tiny Tim's enthusiastic voice fills the soundtrack became one of the most memorable scenes in the entire series. The sad irony is that Tiny Tim died right around the time the SpongeBob team was writing the pilot, so he never knew that his quirky cover version would introduce millions of children to his music. Derek Drymon, the show's co-developer, noted that the sad part was Tiny Tim died right around the time we were writing the pilot, so he never knew we used his song. The song became so associated with SpongeBob that it experienced a complete revival in popularity. A whole new generation discovered Tiny Tim through the show, and the song became a permanent part of internet culture, appearing in memes and viral videos decades after the pilot aired. Steel guitar magic and the associated production music library. The backbone of SpongeBob's musical identity comes from steel guitar music, and the story behind how these tracks were chosen reveals the show's deep connection to authentic Hawaiian and exotica traditions. Music editor and composer Nicholas Carr, who worked with Hillenburg on Rocko's Modern Life, became the primary architect of SpongeBob's sound. When Carr joined the SpongeBob team, he was tasked with finding music from the Associated Production Music Library, USEA, a collection of pre-recorded tracks that TV shows could license for background music. What he discovered was a treasure trove of vintage Hawaiian music and exotica recordings from the 1,960 seconds and 70 seconds. Many of the steel guitar tracks that became SpongeBob classics were actually performed by George Tchok de Freitas, an Indonesian guitarist who lived in the Netherlands and recorded numerous Hawaiian-style albums. His tracks, Honolulu March, Samoa, Hula, and Hawaiian Pussycat, became recurring themes throughout the early seasons of SpongeBob. Other contributors included the Blue Hawaiians, a band that was specifically called by Nickelodeon to create original music for the show. They recorded tracks that perfectly captured the Exotica sound while being tailored to specific episodes. Jeremy Wakefield also composed numerous pieces that became essential parts of the SpongeBob musical landscape. The genius of using this pre-existing library was that it gave the show an authentic vintage sound that would have been impossible to recreate. These weren't modern musicians trying to sound Hawaiian, these were actual recordings from the height of the tiki culture movement, giving SpongeBob a musical foundation that felt both nostalgic and timeless. The evolution of SpongeBob's sound. As Nicholas Carr described it, the music of SpongeBob has evolved dramatically since the early seasons while maintaining its core Hawaiian identity. He explained that the sound has gone from mostly sea shanties and Hawaiian music, a la Roy Smeck meets Pee Wee Herman, still the main style for the show in the early episodes, but it now includes film noir, West Side Story to Henry Mancini, Jerry Goldsmith, and Steven Spielberg. This expansion shows how the show's musical palette has grown to include Broadway-type scores and plain old goofy, loopy, weird stuff. But the Hawaiian steel guitar remains the show's signature sound, appearing in transitions, emotional moments, and whenever the show wants to remind viewers that they're in this tropical underwater paradise, the recurring musical cues have become as recognizable as any character. The gentle steel guitar slide that plays during peaceful moments, the upbeat ukulele strumming during happy scenes, and the dramatic Hawaiian stings during moments of revelation have all become part of the SpongeBob musical vocabulary that fans instantly recognize. One of the most beloved recurring pieces is Grass Skirt Chase, which plays during many of the show's action sequences. The fast-paced Hawaiian guitar picking creates excitement while maintaining the tropical feel, proving that even SpongeBob's chase scenes can feel like a vacation. Tiki culture and the calm tropical ambience. The influence of 1,950 seconds and 60 seconds tiki culture on SpongeBob goes far beyond just the music and visuals. Tiki culture was originally about creating artificial tropical paradises for people who couldn't travel to actual Pacific islands. Tiki bars and restaurants used bamboo, carved statues, tropical drinks, and exotica music to transport customers to an imaginary Polynesia. SpongeBob does exactly the same thing, but for television. Bikini Bottom is essentially a giant tiki bar that happens to be underwater. The characters live in buildings shaped like pineapples and Easter Island heads. The background music sounds like it's being played by a steel guitar trio at a Hawaiian resort. Even the color palette of soft blues, pinks, and yellows matches the sunset ambiance of classic tiki establishments. This creates what researchers have identified as perfect ambient television, content that's engaging enough to watch actively, but calm enough to have playing in the background. The Hawaiian musical influence and tropical visual design makes SpongeBob ideal for relaxation and stress relief, which explains why so many adults use the show as background noise for sleep or studying. The tiki influence also explains why SpongeBob has remained popular across multiple generations. Tiki culture itself was built on nostalgia, that it was Americans in the 1,950 seconds being nostalgic for an imaginary version of Pacific Island life. SpongeBob adds another layer of nostalgia, making viewers nostalgic for their own childhoods while also tapping into that deeper cultural longing for tropical escape. The sleep content phenomenon. The combination of SpongeBob's visual design and musical choices has created an unexpected side effect. The show has become incredibly popular as sleep content. YouTube videos of SpongeBob episodes regularly attract comments from viewers who say they use the show to fall asleep or relax. This isn't accidental. Every element of the show's design contributes to this calming effect. The skyflowers drift by like gentle dreams. The steel guitar music has a hypnotic quality that naturally slows heart rate and breathing. The warm color palette is easy on the eyes, especially in darker viewing environments. Even the show's pacing contributes to its relaxing qualities. Unlike modern cartoons that rely on rapid-fire jokes and constant action, classic SpongeBob has a more leisurely rhythm that matches its tropical setting. Scenes have time to breathe, characters pause for reaction shots, and the overall tempo feels unhurried and peaceful. The voice acting also plays a role. Tom Kenny's SpongeBob voice, while energetic, has a childlike innocence that many adults find comforting. The entire cast delivers their lines with a warmth and gentleness that makes the show feel like being surrounded by friendly, harmless characters who just want to have fun. Notable musical moments and recurring cues. Beyond the famous Tiny Tim song, SpongeBob has created dozens of memorable musical moments that showcase its Hawaiian influences. Squidward's Tiki Land, from the episode Enchanted Tiki Dreams, became a fan favorite, featuring enchanted tikis singing about relaxation and tropical paradise. The song perfectly captures the show's musical philosophy with lyrics about welcoming visitors to a place where they can relax all day, like a tiki can, or lay out in the sun for a tiki tan. The accompanying visuals show Squidward in his own personal tropical paradise, complete with steel guitar soundtrack and tiki statues that come to life. Other recurring musical themes include the Hawaiian slide transition music, which features distinctive steel guitar bends that signal scene changes. Hawaiian Adventures serves as an alternate theme that appears in episodes with particularly tropical storylines. Clownfish Capers provides upbeat background music for comedic scenes while maintaining the Hawaiian feel. The show's composers have also created specific variations for different moods. There's haunted hula grass skirts for Halloween episodes, maintaining the Hawaiian sound while adding spooky elements. Hillfolk Jamboree brings in banjo and fiddle while still incorporating steel guitar elements, showing how the show can expand its musical palette while staying true to its core identity. The end credits, A Perfect Tropical Goodbye. The SpongeBob end credits theme, composed by Steve Belfer and Nicholas Carr, serves as the perfect encapsulation of the show's musical identity. The gentle ukulele melody, accompanied by soft steel guitar harmonies, provides a peaceful conclusion to each episode that reinforces the tropical vacation feeling. Hillenburg specifically requested ukulele music for the end credits, showing how important the Hawaiian influence was to his overall vision. The credits music feels like the perfect soundtrack for watching a sunset from a beach, which is exactly the mood the show wants to leave viewers with. This musical choice reinforces the idea that watching SpongeBob should feel like taking a mental vacation. Just as tiki culture promised to transport people to an imaginary tropical paradise, SpongeBob's music promises to transport viewers to an underwater world where the biggest worry is whether you have enough pickles for the Krabby Patties. The cultural impact of SpongeBob's sound. The Hawaiian and tiki influences in SpongeBob have had a lasting impact on how animation approaches background music and ambient design. Many modern cartoons have tried to capture similar calming aesthetics, but few have succeeded in creating something as cohesive and distinctive as SpongeBob's tropical underwater world. The show's musical choices have also introduced millions of children to Hawaiian and exotica music they might never have encountered otherwise. Steel guitar, ukulele, and the broader sounds of Polynesian-influenced music have gained new audiences through SpongeBob, continuing the cultural transmission that tiki culture started decades earlier. The show's success has proven that audiences respond positively to content that prioritizes atmosphere and mood over constant stimulation. The Hawaiian musical influences create a sense of place that's as important as any character or storyline, showing how sound design can be crucial to a show's overall identity and appeal. SpongeBob's distinctive island exotica vibe comes from Stephen Hillenburg's deliberate use of Hawaiian and tiki culture influences throughout the show's design and music. The famous sky flowers were designed to evoke Hawaiian shirt patterns, creating a tropical atmosphere perfect for relaxation and sleep content. Tiny Tim's Livin' in the Sunlight became the show's musical signature, while steel guitar tracks from artists like George DeFreitas provide the authentic Hawaiian sound. This combination of visual tiki aesthetics and exotica music creates the calm, tropical ambience that makes SpongeBob feel like a permanent vacation, explaining why the show has remained popular as both active entertainment and ambient background viewing for over 25 years. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to canon versus fan theory. Canon versus fan theory, carefully separated. SpongeBob SquarePants has inspired some of the wildest fan theories in cartoon history. From nuclear mutations to secret drug addictions, fans have created entire explanations for why Bikini Bottom works the way it does. But separating what's actually true from what fans have imagined can be tricky. The most important thing to understand is the difference between confirmed facts from the creators and popular theories that fans have created on their own. The real Bikini Atoll connection. What we know for sure. Here are the confirmed facts about Bikini Bottom's name and location. In 2015, Tom Kenny, the voice of SpongeBob, confirmed in an interview with HuffPost that Bikini Bottom is kind of named after Bikini Atoll, where they did nuclear testing decades ago. This is the only official connection that has been confirmed by people who actually work on the show. Stephen Hillenburg, the creator of SpongeBob, chose to place Bikini Bottom underneath Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. This is a real place in the Pacific Ocean, located about halfway between Hawaii and the Philippines. The show's opening sequence shows the island with its 3 palm trees, and this island appears in several episodes when characters travel to the surface. Bikini Atoll was used by the United States for nuclear weapons testing from 1946 to 1958. During this time, 67 nuclear bombs were detonated in the area, including underwater tests. The real Bikini Atoll remains contaminated with radiation to this day, and the people who originally lived there have never been able to return permanently. The name Bikini comes from the Marshallese word Pikini, which means surface of coconuts, or land of coconuts. So, when Stephen Hillenburg chose this location, he was referencing a real place with a real history. This is where the confirmed facts end and the fan theories begin. The nuclear mutation theory, popular but not official. The most famous fan theory about SpongeBob claims that all the characters are mutated sea creatures caused by the nuclear testing at Bikini Atoll. According to this theory, the radiation from the bomb tests is why fish can talk, build cities, drive cars, and work jobs like humans. The theory suggests that SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, and all their friends are the radioactive results of these nuclear experiments. Fans who support this theory point to several pieces of evidence. They notice that many characters wear 1942 style clothing, which matches the time period when the nuclear testing began. They point out that the buildings in Bikini Bottom look like they're made from scrap metal and garbage, possibly debris from the explosions. Some fans even claim that certain explosion scenes in the show are shaped like mushroom clouds from nuclear bombs. The theory also tries to explain why Sandy Cheeks, a land mammal, lives underwater in a special suit. Supporters claim that chipmunks were kept on Navy ships during the nuclear tests, and Sandy represents one of these test animals. They suggest her name refers to the sand created by the nuclear explosions. This theory became extremely popular on the internet, spreading through Reddit posts, YouTube videos, and fan websites. Many people found it convincing because it seemed to explain the unusual nature of Bikini Bottom and its residents. What Tom Kenny actually said, debunking the theory. Tom Kenny, who has been the voice of SpongeBob for over 25 years, directly addressed this nuclear mutation theory in his 2015 HuffPost interview. When asked about the popular theory, he gave a clear answer. "I don't think SpongeBob and his friends are mutations." Kenny explained his understanding of the show's world. "I think Bikini Bottom is like its own world. When the camera drops below the water and you go to Bikini Bottom, it's almost like it's another planet." He emphasized that while the location name comes from Bikini Atoll, the characters are not meant to be nuclear mutations. Kenny's explanation makes sense when you think about how the show actually works. SpongeBob never references real-world events, politics, or current affairs. As Kenny noted, there's never topical references in the show. There's never an Oprah joke or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire joke or anything topical or pop cultural in SpongeBob, and I think that helps keep it really timeless and everlasting. This approach suggests that Hillenburg created Bikini Bottom as a completely separate fantasy world that just happens to be located under a real place. The nuclear testing connection is just about the geographic location, not about the character's origins. The confusion. When fan theories get complicated. The situation became more confusing in recent years when different SpongeBob staff members seemed to say different things about the nuclear theory. In 2024, Doug Lawrence, also known as Mr. Lawrence, who voices Plankton and writes for the show, appeared to confirm the nuclear theory in an interview. He said the atomic testing connection was absolutely true and was part of the fun of the show. However, Lawrence added details that don't match what we see in the actual show. He claimed that in the original concept, the entire human world was supposed to be destroyed, with only Bikini Bottom surviving. But this contradicts the show itself, which regularly features humans, surface world locations, and characters like Patchy the Pirate, who clearly live in the normal human world. An anonymous Nickelodeon staff member also told the website Cracked that the nuclear theory is treated as well-accepted fanfic among some people who work on the show. But a Nickelodeon representative officially denied the theory, stating that the show is set in Bikini Bottom without any nuclear connection. This creates a confusing situation where different people associated with the show have said different things. Some seem to embrace the fan theory, while others reject it. The official Nickelodeon position appears to be that the theory is not canon. Why the theory became so popular? The nuclear mutation theory became popular because it offers a simple explanation for Bikini Bottom's weirdness. Many people find it satisfying to have a realistic reason why cartoon fish can talk and build cities. The theory makes the fantasy elements feel more grounded and scientific. The timing also helped the theory spread. It became popular during the internet age, when fans could easily share theories through social media, forums, and video platforms. The theory has all the elements that make internet content go viral. It's surprising. It recontextualizes something familiar, and it suggests hidden adult themes in children's media. The theory also appeals to people who enjoy finding dark or mature themes in kids' shows. There's a whole genre of internet content dedicated to finding sinister explanations for innocent cartoons. The SpongeBob nuclear theory fits perfectly into this category. Other popular fan theories. The nuclear mutation theory isn't the only explanation fans have created for SpongeBob. Another popular theory claims that each main character represents one of the 7 deadly sins. According to this theory, Patrick represents sloth because he's lazy, Squidward represents wrath because he's angry, Mr. Krabs represents greed because he loves money, and so on. Some fans have theorized that the characters are meant to represent people with different mental health conditions or drug addictions. These theories try to explain each character's personality quirks through real-world psychological or medical explanations. There are also theories about the Krabby Patty secret formula, with some fans claiming it contains crab meat, making Mr. Krabs a cannibal, or various illegal substances. Steven Hillenburg actually confirmed that Krabby Patties contain no animal products, officially debunking the crab meat theory. The importance of separating fact from fiction. Understanding the difference between canon and fan theory is important for several reasons. First, it helps us appreciate what the actual creators intended versus what fans have imagined. Steven Hillenburg created SpongeBob as a positive, optimistic show about friendship and imagination. The darker fan theories often go against this original vision. Second, spreading unconfirmed theories as facts can be misleading, especially for younger fans who might believe everything they read online. When people present fan theories as official information, it creates confusion about what's actually part of the show. Finally, understanding this difference helps us appreciate both the original work and the creative fan community. The creators deserve credit for what they actually made, while fans deserve recognition for their imaginative interpretations. Both can exist together without one having to replace the other. What we can safely say, based on official sources and confirmed statements, here's what we know for certain about SpongeBob and Bikini Bottom. Bikini Bottom is located underneath Bikini Atoll in the Marshall Islands. This is a real place that was used for nuclear testing in the 1940 seconds and 1950 seconds. Steven Hillenburg chose this location as a naming reference and geographic setting for his underwater city. The show's voice actor Tom Kenny has stated that the characters are not nuclear mutations, and that Bikini Bottom is meant to be its own fantasy world. The location reference is just about geography, not about the characters' origins or nature. Steven Hillenburg created SpongeBob as a positive show about friendship, optimism, and imagination. The show intentionally avoids references to real-world politics, current events, or dark themes to maintain its timeless and innocent appeal. The nuclear mutation theory is a fan creation that has never been officially endorsed by Nickelodeon or confirmed by the show's main creators. While some staff members have made comments that seem to support it, these statements contradict both the show's official position and its actual content. The bottom line on theories. Fan theories can be fun and creative ways to think about our favorite shows. They show how much people love SpongeBob and how deeply they think about its world. The nuclear mutation theory demonstrates the incredible imagination of the SpongeBob fan community. However, we should always remember that these are theories, not facts. They represent what fans have imagined, not what the creators actually intended. Enjoying fan theories while understanding their unofficial status allows us to appreciate both the original show and the creative community that surrounds it. The real magic of SpongeBob comes from Steven Hillenburg's vision of an optimistic underwater world where a sea sponge can flip burgers, a starfish can be your best friend, and every day can be an adventure. Whether that world exists because of nuclear testing or simply because imagination is powerful enough to create its own reality, SpongeBob continues to bring joy to millions of viewers around the world. Summary. While Bikini Bottom is officially located beneath the real Bikini Atoll, a former nuclear testing site, this is just a geographic reference chosen by creator Steven Hillenburg. The popular nuclear mutation theory claiming SpongeBob and friends are radioactive mutants is purely fan-created speculation, not official canon. Voice actor Tom Kenny directly debunked this theory, explaining that Bikini Bottom is its own world, separate from real-world events. Though some staff members have made conflicting comments, Nickelodeon officially denies the nuclear connection. The show was designed as a timeless, positive fantasy about friendship and imagination, deliberately avoiding dark or topical themes that would contradict its optimistic spirit. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown. Moving on to the cozy outro phenomenon. Why SpongeBob works as bedtime listening. There's something magical about falling asleep to SpongeBob SquarePants. Millions of people around the world have discovered that this cheerful yellow sponge makes the perfect bedtime companion, and the reasons go much deeper than you might expect. The show's unique ability to work as both entertainment and sleep content comes from a perfect combination of bright, gentle surfaces and surprisingly deep lore, all created by someone who genuinely loved teaching about ocean life. The teacher who never stopped teaching. Understanding why SpongeBob feels so comforting requires knowing the heart of its creator. Steven Hillenburg wasn't just an animator who happened to make a cartoon about sea creatures. He was a marine biology teacher who literally loved sharing the wonders of ocean life with children. For 3 years at the Orange County Marine Institute, he taught tide pool ecology, nautical history, diversity, and adaptation to young visitors. Hillenburg described his experience there with genuine warmth. Working there, I saw how enamored kids are with undersea life, especially with tide pool creatures. This wasn't just a job for him, it was a calling. He created educational tools, including a comic book called The Intertidal Zone, featuring characters like Bob the Sponge and Rocky the Shrimp to help children understand and appreciate marine biology. When he transitioned from teaching to animation, Hillenburg never stopped being an educator at heart. SpongeBob SquarePants became his classroom, and every episode contained little lessons about friendship, optimism, and the fascinating world of sea life. The show maintains that gentle, encouraging tone that the best teachers use, never talking down to children, always assuming they're smart enough to understand both simple joy and complex emotions. Bright surfaces that welcome everyone. The visual design of SpongeBob creates an instantly welcoming atmosphere that makes viewers feel safe and relaxed. The bright yellow of SpongeBob's square body, the soft pink of Patrick's starfish form, the gentle blue-green of Squidward's octopus skin, these colors work together like a warm embrace. Nothing in Bikini Bottom feels sharp, threatening, or overwhelming. Even the backgrounds contribute to this sense of comfort. Those famous sky flowers drift by like pleasant dreams, their soft patterns evoking the tropical calm of Hawaiian shirt designs. The buildings are made from found objects, pineapples, Easter Island heads, tin cans, but they never look like junk. Instead, they feel creative and whimsical, like the kind of imaginative spaces children build in their own backyards. The animation itself moves with a gentle rhythm that naturally slows your breathing and heart rate. Characters pause for reaction shots, scenes have time to breathe, and the overall pacing feels unhurried and peaceful. This creates what researchers call ambient television, content that's engaging enough to watch but calm enough to have playing in the background while you drift off to sleep. Deep lore that rewards attention. Beneath SpongeBob's simple surface lies surprisingly rich world building that gives longtime viewers endless details to discover and rediscover. Hillenburg's marine biology background shows up in countless small ways. Plankton eating holographic meatloaf because real plankton get energy through photosynthesis, the king jellyfish being called Cnidaria rex, the scientific name for the jellyfish family, and buildings that look wavy because of underwater currents. The characters themselves have hidden depths that become more apparent the longer you spend with them. SpongeBob's relentless optimism isn't shallow, it's the result of a character who genuinely believes the best about everyone and finds joy in simple things. Patrick's laziness is balanced by moments of surprising wisdom. Squidward's grumpiness comes from real artistic frustration and social exhaustion. This layered storytelling means SpongeBob works on multiple levels simultaneously. Children can enjoy the bright colors and silly jokes, while adults appreciate the subtle character development and cleverly hidden marine biology lessons. When you're listening to episodes as you fall asleep, your brain can focus on whichever layer feels most comforting: the gentle voices, the familiar character dynamics, or the soothing underwater atmosphere. The sound of safety. The voice acting in SpongeBob contributes enormously to its bedtime appeal. Tom Kenny's performance as SpongeBob strikes the perfect balance between energetic and soothing. His voice is childlike and innocent, but never grating or overwhelming. There's a warmth and gentleness in how he delivers even SpongeBob's most excited moments that feels fundamentally safe and non-threatening. The entire cast brings this same quality to their performances. Bill Fagerbakk's Patrick sounds like a friendly giant who would never hurt anyone. Roger Bumpass gives Squidward the kind of grumpiness that's more amusing than genuinely mean. Clancy Brown's Mr. Krabs may be money-obsessed, but his voice carries the affection of a slightly difficult but ultimately caring father figure. Even when conflicts arise in episodes, they're resolved with understanding and friendship rather than punishment or cruelty. Characters may get annoyed with each other, but they never say truly hurtful things or engage in genuine malice. This creates an emotional safety net that makes SpongeBob perfect for the vulnerable time when you're trying to fall asleep. Hawaiian dreams and tropical calm. The show's deliberate use of Hawaiian and tropical influences creates an instant vacation atmosphere that encourages relaxation. Those gentle steel guitar slides, the soft ukulele melodies, and the warm exotica background music all work together to transport listeners to an imaginary beach where the biggest worry is whether you have enough pickles for the Krabby Patties. Steven Hillenburg understood that tiki culture and Hawaiian music were specifically designed to help people escape their everyday stresses and imagine themselves in a peaceful tropical paradise. By building these influences into every aspect of SpongeBob's design, he created a show that naturally promotes calm and relaxation. The sky flowers, the warm color palette, the gentle rhythm of the ocean, and the tropical musical cues all combine to create what psychologists call a restorative environment, a space that helps your mind recover from stress and prepare for rest. It's like having a mental vacation every time you watch the show. The magic of endless optimism. Perhaps the most important factor in SpongeBob's bedtime appeal is its relentless commitment to kindness and optimism. In a world full of cynical entertainment and harsh realities, SpongeBob offers a gentle alternative where problems are always solvable, friendship always wins, and tomorrow will always be better than today. This optimism isn't naive or unrealistic. It's the kind of hopeful outlook that helps people sleep peacefully. When you're listening to SpongeBob as you drift off, you're surrounded by characters who genuinely care about each other, who find joy in simple pleasures, and who approach challenges with creativity and enthusiasm rather than fear or anger. Steven Hillenburg once said that the show came from something that's precious and that we need to appreciate it. That precious thing was his love for the ocean and his desire to share that wonder with others. Every episode carries this sense of appreciation for the natural world and the importance of protecting and cherishing the things we love. A creator's love letter to the ocean. The deepest reason SpongeBob works so well as bedtime content is that it was created by someone who genuinely loved what he was sharing. Hillenburg's passion for marine biology and ocean conservation infused every aspect of the show with authentic care and wonder. When you listen to SpongeBob, you're experiencing the dreams of a teacher who wanted children to see the ocean the way he did, as a magical place full of incredible creatures and endless possibilities. Even as the show became a massive commercial success, Hillenburg worried about its environmental impact. He famously said his biggest nightmare was walking on a beach and seeing SpongeBob merchandise washed up as garbage. This concern for the real ocean showed how deeply he cared about the message his show was sending. This authentic love for the subject matter comes through in every episode. SpongeBob doesn't just take place underwater, it celebrates the underwater world. Every character, every location, and every story reflects Hillenburg's genuine fascination with marine life and his desire to share that fascination with others. The perfect bedtime formula. When you combine all these elements, a creator who loved teaching, bright but gentle visuals, deep but non-threatening lore, safe and warm voice acting, tropical musical influences, endless optimism, and authentic love for the subject matter, Sleep Dave GT, you get something unique in entertainment. SpongeBob SquarePants accidentally became one of the most effective sleep aids in television history. The show provides just enough stimulation to keep your mind from racing with anxious thoughts, but not so much that it keeps you awake. The familiar voices and predictable story structures create a sense of safety and routine. The positive emotional tone helps your brain release the tensions of the day and prepare for rest. Most importantly, SpongeBob creates a world where everything is fundamentally okay. No matter what small problems arise in Bikini Bottom, they're always solved with friendship, creativity, and good intentions. For people dealing with stress, anxiety, or simply the challenges of everyday life, falling asleep to this kind of gentle optimism can be deeply healing. The teacher's greatest lesson. In the end, SpongeBob's success as bedtime content reflects Steven Hillenburg's greatest achievement as both a teacher and an artist. He created something that educates without lecturing, entertains without overwhelming, and comforts without condescending. He took his love for the ocean and transformed it into a world that helps millions of people sleep peacefully. Every night, when people around the world put on SpongeBob episodes to help them relax and fall asleep, they're participating in Steven Hillenburg's extended classroom. They're learning that friendship matters, that optimism is powerful, that the natural world is wonderful, and that there's always something to be curious and excited about tomorrow. The show works as bedtime listening because it was created by someone who understood that the best teachers don't just share information, they share wonder, comfort, and hope. SpongeBob SquarePants is Steven Hillenburg's final lesson, playing every night for anyone who needs to remember that the world can be a magical, friendly place where yellow sponges can flip burgers, starfish can be your best friend, and every day under the sea is an adventure worth having. Summary: SpongeBob works perfectly as bedtime content because it combines bright, gentle surfaces with surprisingly deep lore, all created by Steven Hillenburg, a marine biology teacher who genuinely loved sharing ocean wonders with children. The show's Hawaiian-influenced tropical atmosphere, safe voice acting, endless optimism, and authentic educational heart create the perfect formula for relaxation. Hillenburg's background teaching tide pool ecology and marine diversity infused every episode with the warm, encouraging tone of the best teachers. The result is a world where everything feels fundamentally okay, friendship always wins, and tomorrow will always bring new adventures in the magical underwater classroom that Hillenburg built for all of us. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe and I'll see you in the next video.